me watching a GIF while using Skype.
Okay. So you're gonna want to wave up there, but you have to wait because they're just getting
Hi,
notifications.
Minion.
They're just getting notifications that we're going.
Okay, I'll watch that later.
Green says hi.
That's adorable.
That's the wine rack that Mom wants.
Where do you find the image for this week?
I made it. Where is? Oh, that's because.
It's very dynamic.
Yeah, it was. I took a couple of the minimalization wallpapers that they have and blended them.
Nice.
Getting that blend in the
Oh,
middle was
very
actually
nice.
the most annoying piece. And I had to make that one.
It's actually part of my the one on the right. That's a character. His name is Jotaro. He's actually part of my current wallpaper.
The one
That
with
same, like,
the
part
one
of it.
with the hair things.
No, that's the one on the left with the hair loops. That's Giorno. Jotaro
Okay.
is the one with the hat doing the point.
Okay.
Um,
I watched the first 3 episodes last night to season 1. So
okay.
it's about
So wait,
vampires.
did you watch it in the sub or the dub?
I always watch sub.
Okay, so you heard the Konodiora.
All right. Did you want to say hi to him before you go to bed?
That was the first modern JoJo beam.
Oh, was it?
Well, if you've ever seen anything that was, but it was Dio. That's
Uh-huh.
that's Kono Dioda means me. It was me, Dio, or something like that.
Okay.
I do not think of myself as an expert on Japanese, but I am picking recurring things up.
That's cool. I should actually see if my friend Natalie would actually watch the show because she has a master's in Japanese and works for a travel company that specifically goes to Japan, and she lived there for 7 years. She might actually dig this.
I constantly was getting this confused with the memes from Fist of the North Star.
That is a very apt comparison. I've seen a lot of people
I've
make
like
that. Jonathan Joestar looks a lot
yes,
like Kenshiro.
I know. But like I kept waiting for the "you're already dead" comment, and I'm like, where is it?
There is a moment in episode 9 of the first season where Jonathan does the exact same pose as Kenshiro when he does the Omae wa Mushinderu.
I was so confused because they had like all the fights, and I was like, "Where's the memes?" Like, and I was like, I messaged my guy that I work with. I'm like, "All right, what is the anime that you kept sending me all this shit from?" And he's like, "Oh, that's Fist of the North Star." I was like, "Okay, that would explain why I'm not getting."
The original JoJo manga came around that same time, so they're very
okay.
they're very similar. What I was about to say something, but I don't remember. Oh, if you notice that during the opening, that first opening called Sonochino Sadame, the very first opening like sequence are these black and white comic panels, and that's all of Jonathan's descendants going backwards. So it starts with the most recent descendant going up to Jonathan, and he's the first one shown in color because this is where it all began.
Got it. Okay.
But I'll get more into that when we actually get started.
Are we Green? Did you already talk to Green about recording on your end, or do I need to do the recording?
I can. I'm pretty sure I can do it.
Okay, I'll go ahead. I mean, I'll do a backup too, but
yeah, that'd be nice. But I'll see if I can do it on my end.
Okay.
Well, I'm not seeing on the Twitch. It's just my voice.
Yeah, the Jay. I don't know how often he wants to try to put 3 cams on there. He
Huh?
tends
Oh
to
no, I don't.
get
Yeah,
finicky.
I don't throw the guests on there because it's easier to design it for the two that I know will be there, and then just have the. That way, there's also no pressure for the anyone else.
Yeah, being on camera the entire time, you without being on camera can sneak away to go to the bathroom sometimes.
Well, not this time because
Well,
you're going to be
not
the only
this time
one.
because
Yeah.
I'm the one explaining everything.
This is very true.
If everyone will know if he sneaks away, because all of a sudden he'll be like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh,
Anime,
mhm.
anime, big titties.
No, that's
there's
not
no
this
big
one.
There's
Not in this
there's
one.
only big. There's only big male titties.
I'm
Oh
sorry.
my god, it is so true. It is so true.
Look, so Blue, you don't see it yet, but up until really season, I guess you part 4, every male is jacked.
Oh god, I
Beyond
know.
belief.
And
Like,
they all
we're
stand.
talking Goku level jacks.
They all stand with like their backs broken. Like I'm like, you don't stand that way. What are you doing?
Twitch chat won't be able to see me do poses.
Oh my gosh.
I could do pose. I could sit back and do some poses. But
Yeah,
Twitch won't see it.
the early stances. I'm like, I don't think that's how
You
a
haven't
normal
seen it.
human being stands. Like,
Oh, if you really want to see mind breaking stuff, you should. If you look at some of the original manga panels.
oh god.
This is one. I think the original author's like 3rd major work and his biggest success. So some of the panels are like, do you remember that Captain America panel that always gets criticism where it's like muscles out
Oh,
like
yeah.
3 feet in front of him? Everybody looks like that in the original manga. There are panels of Jonathan having a very, very tiny head.
Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah, Pins, this is like well, I think the anime was what, early 2000s?
So yes and no. The manga was first published in 87,
Okay.
but because of so many references to Western pop culture, we haven't really gotten a proper Western release of any JoJo related material until really the anime in 2012. That was when it started
2012.
airing. That was done by David Production. But there is an OVA you can find that was started in 1997 and then finished in 2003, but it's only of the 3rd story arc. I'm explaining way too much. We should probably get the show started.
Yeah, let's start the recording real quick. So if you have your recording software up,
Yep.
I can count us down for that.
Sounds good.
All right. You ready to start?
Mhm.
So 3, 2, 1, click. It gets us pretty much synced up.
All right, I'm recording.
Cool.
Okay, let me start up the backup. All right, here we go. Welcome to Focus Fire Chat, recorded live on November 7th, 2020, over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat. As always, I want to give a big shout out to our live chat here with us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us once again, albeit a little bit later than our normal Friday evening. We appreciate your guys' flexibility. This week's episodes are going to be focused around exploring the animated series JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. This particular episode will serve as what we have come to call the intro session of the week's exploration. Fair warning, both of these sessions will probably be more intro level because Green and I are not super well versed. Green is the resident expert in anime, as she... For those on the podcast.
You can't hear this on the podcast, but I am shaking my experience with anime is Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z.
You got Utna in there? Utna? Come on. You got to have some of the weird
No.
ones in there. Oh, man. That's...
No. I mean,
you're
if
saving
you count
your sanity.
Ruby as one, I've seen Ruby.
Ruby is... It is animated.
It's Western anime, though.
It's in the same boat as Avatar, really.
That's fair.
Also haven't seen Avatar. Yeah, Pence, I actually already have access to your Funimation account. Blue has been forcing me to watch Wolf's Rain.
I'm making her watch Wolf's Rain.
You should be making her watch Avatar. That's almost a requirement at the 21st century.
Avatar is actually, I will give you Avatar. It's a slow burn. Like it takes a while to get into it, but once you do get into it, it's a pretty good arc.
I guess I've seen a few episodes of Avatar, but it's, they got to
you have to get
Earthbenders.
Yeah,
and then I was
until you get to Toph, it's like As soon as they get to Toph, though, that's where the gas gets poured on the fire because it gets she's the best ever. So anyways, obviously you could hear it's Green and I. We also have on the show our guest co-host, and really honestly the person who you're probably going to hear a lot of for these episodes, Neo Mad Dog. Neo, how are you doing?
Oh, you're introducing me? Instead of ignoring me, you choose to introduce me
and
ask me how I'm doing?
Yes.
I'm doing great. I was trying to do it. I was trying to do a meme. You're approaching me, but it's you're introducing me.
Oh, gotcha. It's like, you're a guest. Of course we introduce you.
I've already talked. They know I'm here.
Yeah, but they don't know your name. Neo, not Matrixy.
I'm the different one.
The different one. Well, as usual with like the intro sessions, let's I want to shift actually back over to you, Neo, and kind of give everyone a little bit of idea of your history with like how did you get into JoJo? Because it is not to play off the title, but it is a bizarre anime.
Adventure?
Like, yeah, it's a bizarre adventure of an anime.
So back last summer of 2018, I was just scrolling through Netflix and I saw JoJo's Bizarre Adventure on it because I guess I was looking for an anime. I think I might have just finished Evangelion. So I was like, I wonder what this is. This looks interesting. I watched the first 2 episodes and then I realized, so this is the show where all the memes came from. And then I was hooked. I finished the entire series, catching up with the anime in 2 or 3 months. And then in November, that following November, I realized I still needed more. And so I started reading the manga.
Oh, jeez.
I am now fully caught up with the series. I have the most recent chapter that just came out in October, and I'm now waiting for chapter 102 of this current story arc.
So there's 102 mangas, but how many?
There's hundreds. So the series is divided into parts, and we're currently in the 8th major story part. And chapter 101 of this story part was just published in October.
Green's face is the best right now ever.
This
manga's Green.
Started in
manga's
and continues
right. I understand the chapter aspect of it. Like, how many animated? Like, how many episodes in the animated version? Because manga is the reading version,
right?
Yeah. So right now, only up through part 5, the 5th major story arc, has been done in the anime. We're currently awaiting part 6. Doing quick math, sort of in my head, parts 1 and 2 are 29 episodes total. They make up the first season. Then part 3 is 43. Then 4 and 5 are 39 episodes each.
Okay, so
that's roughly 100 or so.
Okay, so that's not nearly as bad as I was thinking, because you're like, there's 102 in just this arc, and it's like, oh, shit.
There's 102 chapters that are about 30 to 40 pages each.
Man,
roughly.
Okay. You binge watching? How long are each episode? Like,
they're about 20 to 25 minutes.
They weren't bad at all. They were packed. Like, there's a lot that happens in them, but like
it is a shonen battle series.
Yeah, it's got a lot going on, but it's not terrible.
Thing I've noticed with some of the more popular animes is that they pack in, like, there's not long scenes in any of them. They're just bam, 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 bam.
That's JoJo's has the longest 5 minutes in 5 minutes making 30 minutes of content.
Oh, jeez.
One 5-minute battle with some time stops is around 2 to 3 episodes of actual television.
All right, so a little bit of DBZ style of powering up for two or three episodes before you finally make the shot.
Kind of. It's what's nice is that it's not like Goku shouting it's not the characters just shouting at each other. There is quite a bit of strategy involved with the series, which is something that I really like, is that every fight is two or more people trying to outwit the other and exploit the other's weakness.
Okay.
Yeah, actually,
everybody's playing 4D chess.
Yeah, it actually, like, in the, because I'll be completely transparent. I've only watched the first 3 episodes so far, and so they've really introduced two characters. I think it's Jonathan, and then is it Dio? I think is and both of them have, exactly that. It's actually really enjoyable because the entire time, it's a little corny. To be fair, but like the way that they present both characters, it's much more depth than just like, oh, I'm just gonna do like one punch you. It's more of like definitely more the strategy of they're trying to manipulate each other in more ways than just physical.
Okay.
So what JoJo's is really about, it's, while yes, Jonathan Joestar does have the nickname JoJo and people call him that, JoJo is more of a nickname that's given to a variety of characters. It's the story of a family, really, the Joestar lineage, and each story, every part, I'm just going to call them parts, features a different member of the family as the protagonist, and they're each addressed as JoJo at least once. At least you can see like, oh, and because their name can be derived as such. So it's which each one is. So there's Phantom Blood, that is set in England in 1888 for the most part. That is Jonathan Joestar fighting his adopted brother Dio, who very early on uses an ancient stone mask that the Joestar family had to convert him into a vampire. He rejects his humanity and becomes power hungry and wants to take over the planet, and Jonathan ventures off to stop him. He's joined by his teacher of the Ripple, or Hamon. Hamon means ripple in Japanese, which is channeling the power of the sun through proper breathing. So if you breathe correctly and you have the gift for it, you can literally channel the power of the sun through your hands. And so Jonathan learns this in order to fight his vampire adopted brother. This is really where the story began, and Jonathan manages to lock away Dio under the Atlantic Ocean for 100 years. Jonathan's also joined by a street thief he met in London named Robert E.O. Speedwagon, who is
R.E.O. Speedwagon.
He's literally there to explain Speedwagon is best girl. Anybody who says it's FF is wrong. It's Speedwagon. Speedwagon
R.E.O.
is best
Speedwagon.
Yes.
That's the tip of the iceberg in these references, baby. So part 2 is set in 1939 across North America and Europe. It is Jonathan's grandson, Joseph, who is a prodigy in the Ripple, and he discovers the creators of these stone masks are waking up from their slumber. They're known as the Pillarmen because they kind of hibernate in pillars. They're like these ancient American vampire demigods who are all jacked AF. They're called they're led by Cars, as well as AC/DC and WAMU. And Joseph, who is some people's favorite, he, instead of Jonathan, who's kind of like a goody two shoes, this very honorable man who like always seeks to do the right thing, Joseph is a trickster. If you want to think of like in Destiny terms, like Jonathan is Zavala, Joseph is Cade 6.
Okay.
He's always got a trick up his sleeve. At one point in his very first episode, he pulls a Tommy gun out of his very tight pants. I don't know where he hid it. This guy, and he's joined by Jonathan's grandson,
Uh-huh.
Jonathan's mentor's grandson, Caesar Zappelli. Those two together master their ability of Hamon, or the Ripple, under the tutelage of the enigmatic Lisa Lisa, and in order to fight the Pillarmen to stop them from perfecting the stone mask any further. That brings us to part 3, Stardust Crusaders. This is the most popular part and what people might recognize.
Okay.
In fact, the OVA from 1997 and 2003 was actually adapting Stardust Crusaders, and there's actually a Capcom game called Heritage of the Future that came out in the late 90s. That also featured primarily Part 3 characters. This is set across basically it's a road trip from Japan to Egypt in the year of 1989, which has Japanese high schooler Jotaro Kujo, who is the grandson of Joseph of the previous part.
Okay.
He acquires a stand, which is a ghostly manifestation of one's own fighting spirit. I'll explain stands more likely in the advanced session, but like stands are like basically how fights are done for the rest of the series.
Okay.
It's most people might recognize. There's a kind of jokes like it's the work of an enemy stand, and they have just as many. If there are thousands of different types of souls in the world, there are thousands of different types of stands and how they operate.
Makes sense. Can I time out real quick and just catch up just slightly on the time frame that we've gone so far? When was the first one taking place?
Victorian England, so 1888.
And then the next one's in the 1930s?
1939, right at the onset of World War II.
And then now we're up at 1980s-ish.
Yeah, the late 80s. This is actually around where the series was actually time period of when it was being published. So it was basically set modern day.
So we have two of them are that are directly descendant of each other. Well, I mean, they're all descendants, but like one begot the next one, right? Like
Jonathan is the progenitor. So Joseph is Jonathan's grandson, and Jotaro is Joseph's grandson.
Okay. Does it always travel as down to?
Getting to that in part 4.
Okay. Okay. We're catching up to where we're at.
When you think you got the pattern, they switch it up on you.
I mean,
so
3 is hardly a pattern.
Jotaro has the stand Star Platinum. Joseph has the stand Hermit Purple, and they team up with 3 other, and then later another, but other stand users of Jean-Pierre Polnareff, who is a French warrior with the knight-esque stand, knight as in like warrior, like fighter.
Yeah.
Silver Chariot, as well as the fortune teller from Egypt, Muhammad Avadol, with the flame pyrokinetic Magician's Red, and then other Japanese student Noriaki Kakuin with Hierophant Green, which really just shoots rocks out of its hands.
Sweet.
These stands in part 3 were initially named after the major arcana of a Taro deck. In fact, Hiroki Araki designed his own version of like the designs on the cards, which are really cool, and I actually been meaning to get a set of those because they're really pretty. All the enemy stand users are named after these tarot cards, such as you have the Tower of Gray, Yellow Temperance, Justice, Judgment, so on.
Okay, so a bit of a Arcana feel to it.
They add another like ally, a little dog about maybe about a foot tall. I think it's like a boxer or some kind. Really doesn't want to help at all. He has to stand the Fool. And then the stands after that are named after Egyptian gods, so like Geb, Horus, Osiris, Adam, things of that nature. And then they start getting named after pop culture references. But the reason they're going to Egypt is that Dio has returned and has awakened his own stand of the world, or Zawado, and he has inadvertently laid a curse on the Joestar family, and it is causing Jotaro's mother, Holly, to die. Okay. And so they're trying to go to Egypt to defeat Dio once and for all. I will explain something about the 5th protagonist that is relevant to Dio in the advanced session. Anyway, Part 4 is set in a single small town in 1999 Japan, the town of Morio. It is based off of the author's own suburban town that he grew up in. It is a slice of life murder mystery starring Josuke Higashikata. He is Joseph's illegitimate son, sired when Joseph was in his 60s.
Oh.
There's an ongoing joke that Joseph can cheat on. Joseph has never found anything he can't cheat on. He's cheated in his fights, he's cheated death, and he cheated on his wife.
Damn.
Josuke Higashikata is a 16-year-old high school student in his hometown of Morio, Japan. And he is trying to solve the mystery of why Morio has a missing persons statistic 8 times higher than the average of Japan. He has a regenerative stand called Crazy Diamond, so it heals things. And he's joined by 2 classmates, Koichi Hirose with Echoes, Okuyasu Nijimura with The Hand, another manga artist named Rohan Kishibe with the mind-reading stand Heaven's Door, and Jotaro from Part 3 returns with Star Platinum. In case you're confused on the relation, Josuke is Jotaro's uncle, and also 10 years younger than him.
Okay.
I don't want to reveal the villain because that's plot related.
Sure. So let me slow you down just a tiny bit. So we have each story arc is a totally different story style, right? Like every time they're going through. This time in arc 4, they're doing that murder mystery. Does everybody in the world basically have these stands? Or
it sure feels like it, but no, it's actually a very small population.
Okay.
Everyone in the show has it.
It's actually very interesting that why there's so many stand users in a single town.
Okay.
It's part of a thing related to fate, which is actually a thing in JoJo. Fate as like a concept, and it's in part 6. It is described as the same thing as gravity.
Okay, so a pool.
That
of
actually
some
kind
sort.
of that's an interesting theory too, because there's multiple stories that use a similar concept to that.
Part 5, which is the most recent one to be animated as part of the anime by David Productions. It stopped. The finale for Part 5 aired in August 2019. For context, this stars the very mysterious teenage boy, age 15, of Giorno Giovanna. He is half British, half Japanese. This is set in 2001 Italy. He has the stand Gold Experience, which brings things to life.
Okay.
And he joins the increasingly powerful crime family known as Passion, which is the passion in Italian. He wants to defeat the boss and end the drug trade that's ruining hundreds and thousands of innocent lives across Italy, especially in Naples, where he grew up. He joins a small-time team of gangsters led by Bruno Bucciarati, who is Best Mom, who has the stand Sticky Fingers, which uses zippers to access pocket dimensions.
That is amazing.
I want that. I want that one.
All these different stands, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, we've got the like healing one, the pocket dimension one, what was the gold one you just mentioned?
Gold Experience brings things to life.
Bring things to life.
Like
so
it,
just
like it
inanimate objects?
Yeah, so like he at one point he turns a brick into a snake. He steals luggage by turning it into a frog.
Wait. I had to unmute for that.
In the very first episode, so it's introduced that Koichi from Part 4 is trying to investigate who Giorno is on behalf of Jotaro. And so the first thing that Giorno does upon meeting Koichi, he offers himself as a taxi driver and promptly steals his luggage by turning the suitcase into a frog.
Okay. Why not?
This gets even more bizarre. Just wait. You thought this was bizarre now. It gets even more.
Oh, we're only starting on the bizarre adventure.
This, by the way, this is one of my favorite parts, part 5. Other gangsters include Leone Abacchio with Moody Blues, which can replay real-life events. Narancha Girga with Aerosmith, which is literally like a toy plane that attacks people. Guido Mista with the Stand Sex Pistols, which redirects his bullets. And then Panicotta Fugo, who has the Stand Purple Haze, which is a flesh-eating virus.
But
they set off across Italy to defeat the boss, who no one has ever seen his face, in order to take over the mafia family.
I feel like Jimi Hendrix might have a few things to say about the flesh-eating Stand.
I'll be getting to that later.
Okay.
Part 6, which we're currently awaiting an anime adaptation, has Jotaro Kujo's daughter, Jolene Kujo. She is framed. This is set in 2011 Florida. Jolene is framed for a crime she did not commit and is sentenced to prison inside the Green Dolphin Street prison, and uncovers a plot devised by Dio's most faithful disciple, Father Enrico Pucci. Jolene acquires the Stand Stone Free, which can turn her body into strings.
Oh, how is that useful?
She can navigate. So if she extends strings from her hand, she can actually listen in on conversations in other rooms if the string can get through. These strings can also like manifest as like a regular stand behind her, and she does punching attacks. Then she's at one point she can just manipulate her entire body at one point in order to fight off a gravity-based stand that was going to turn her inside out. She turns her body into a series of Mobius strips where inside out doesn't exist.
Okay.
She is joined by fellow inmates Hermes Costello with the stand Kiss that can duplicate objects. Narciso Anasui with the kinetic energy absorbing Diver Down. A amnesiac man named Weather Report and his stand Weather Report. There is a mysterious girl introduced about 30 chapters in called FF, which stands for Foo Fighters, and her stand is Foo Fighters. There's also a boy that lives in the prison, who, with his stand burning down the house, can access a ghost room from the prison that burnt down a decade back. His name was Emporio Al Nino, and they have to uncover what the plot by Father Enrico Pucci.
I think we're gonna kill Green.
Yep.
I'm just to the point where I'm hearing all these references and I'm trying to grasp the story. I swear, I'm trying to grasp the story as you're going through it. But all these references are throwing me off because all I can think is, really? Foo Fighters? Why? Like
I'll be getting
these...
that. I'll be
Oh
getting
my
that.
God.
Part
my
7,
gosh.
Steel Ball Run, is actually a reboot of this series. It is pretty much unrelated to the original 6. Part 6 really kind of ended the story in a very nice way, in my opinion. Steel Ball Run, which is actually my favorite part of all time, is set in 1890s the United States. The Steel Ball Run is actually a horse race from San Diego to New York City. And Johnny Joestar, a young paraplegic horse jockey, joins the Steel Ball Run with Gyro Zappelli, a Neapolitan executioner who is trying to prevent a boy from being executed for a crime he doesn't think that Gyro thinks he didn't commit. And so Johnny is trying to learn the secrets of an ability called the Spin, which is something exclusive to the Zappelli family.
Is Johnny strapped to the horse?
So in order to get on the horse, he actually makes like the horse head like push him up. So like so he's sitting on the ground.
He does it rodeo style then, like
the horse comes up behind him and literally uses its head to lift Johnny up onto the saddle.
Okay.
But Johnny was according to the story, the youngest boy to ever win the Kentucky Derby. So he knows how to ride a horse.
It's insane because, like, I've ridden horses, Jay has ridden horses. You have to use your legs. It's to have a paraplegic. That's impressive. That is
Then,
impressive.
but he
Oh, wait
tries to
until wait
race
until you get to the
across the
president.
United States, but they uncover a plot orchestrated by the president, Funny Valentine, which, in
Oh
order to
no.
gain artifacts of a certain holy power, um, I don't want to reveal too much about the story, but Stains continue to be a present, but they more of sort of supplement the story instead of take center stage.
Okay.
This is my favorite. As I said, this is my favorite part. It's got my favorite villain, some of my favorite characters. I highly recommend it. Some of the other racers include a new version of Dio called Diego.
Mhm.
There's also the androgynous Hot Pants, the Native American sprinter Sandman, the perpetually lucky Poco Loco, um, and the legendary bounty hunter. Um, what was his name? Mountain Tim. I remember.
Timmy!
Then the eighth part, which is the one that's currently being published, is set in 2011 in Morio again, though a slightly different version of Morio. It's a continuation of the Steel Ball Run story. A mysterious young man is found buried in the sands after the 2011 earthquakes that devastated the coast of Japan in real life. A boy is found, assumed to be around 19 years old, who is quickly nicknamed Josuke. In order, as a community, in order to not confuse him with Part 4's Josuke, we call this one Gappy because he has a gap between his two front teeth. So Gappy is adopted into the Higashikata family, which is a wealthy fruit-selling family, and tries to figure out who he was. But unfortunately, over the course of it, he uncovers a hidden plot from a mysterious cartel, all with their own stands, and Gappy, with the help of a college student named Yasuho, they try to figure out what's going on. They're also joined by the entire Higashikata family, who all have their own stands, as well as the fruit appraiser Rei Mamazuku. And this is Part 8 is really the most bizarre part. It's difficult to
Okay.
really explain, like people eating wasps.
Okay.
That was a
Can
thing.
we do a quick pause real quick and just we'll do a quick ad break. Just adding that pause right here. And then
And then we'll come back to talking about people eating wasps.
Sure.
because that sounds
Bizarre.
yummy. I mean, it's okay. Here's my first question. Do the wasps still try to sting them as they're going down? Or is this like Danger Man trying to eat scorpions or something like that?
So you see, the villains of Part 8 are raised by wasps. And then they eat them.
Green shut down at this point.
Okay. I imagine these are not normal wasps that die off every year.
No, these are normal wasps.
It's like the hive or the whatever.
So the villains of Part 8 are not technically human. I mean, you can probably assume. They're actually a special type of, I believe, was it silicon? They're not carbon-based life forms. In chapter 99, I believe they're described as a plan to be in case humanity doesn't work, by like whatever god might exist. These are the people who would survive if humanity were to go away, and they're literally like they're sort of like parasites who are inadvertently raised by like they're born very 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 small. They're taken into a wasp nest and they are fed by the wasp until they're big enough to eat the nest. They're known as rock humans. They can turn into rocks.
Because that's a feature that they needed.
Okay.
that's just the tip of the iceberg of JoJolian. JoJolian is the ongoing part, and I believe if I had to estimate, we're about 10 to 20 chapters away from its finale. We're kind of in like the climax of the story. Things are wrapping
Okay.
up.
I am at the point where I need to be drinking or um and consuming other substances because I feel like I know that there's probably a way that it all sort of makes sense that it's just turned up to 11 to weave it all together, but it definitely lives up to the Bizarre Adventure title
I,
with
so this is a funny story, and so my girlfriend, our first date was getting drinks, and I spent a good sixth of that date um, doing what I'm doing right now.
hey,
And she still
good on
wanted a
you.
second date.
Actually,
She still wanted
good
a
on
second
you.
date. And you know what the second date was? I made her start the series.
You know what though?
She's
Good on
caught up.
you for not holding back and just being you. That yes. Yes.
We're gonna just cut to the chase. Let's see if you're gonna stay around.
That I mean, that's the
That
way
was
to do it.
basically it. Um,
How funny. Okay, so
oh yeah, she is in
Oh,
chat.
she's in chat.
he turned me into a complete weeb.
I love you.
Megan, you are appreciated and very patient. The, I just okay, so
She's the one who got me this JoJo shirt that chat can't see me wearing.
Nice.
that's awesome. Okay, so on the JoJo shirt, do you have each of the different JoJos?
No,
Is that what that's going on?
this is the part 5 cast. So sucks for audio listeners. So the middle one right here, that's Giorno. One with the pink
Okay.
one, that's Giorno.
Uh-huh.
That's Mista. That's Narancia, Abacchio, Bruno, and then Fugo. That was a lot of
Okay.
O's, but they're all Italian.
Are each grouping or each story cast around the same size, or you're going to be around 6 cast members for each one, or at least primary, or is it going to fluctuate a little
It
bit?
fluctuates. Part 1, 2, and 7 have pretty small cast of primary characters.
Okay.
3, 4, 5, and 6 and 8 have a little bit bigger cast of main characters.
So we kind of did a breakdown of just like the basic story going through all 8 that are released currently, right?
Yes.
Did like a really, really general overview of that. But I've seen a lot of things on the internet because it's kind of a phenomenon right now again within the States that people are like, oh my gosh, there's these like overarching themes that are like starting to pull together and like what is going on? And it's like, okay, so there's a meta story within all of like overarching all these little stories.
Yes and no. So they kind of so it varies between so most of it, so for the first 6 parts, the original story is really more related to Dio's influence on the family. Sometimes it's a lot more explicit, like in 1, 3, and 6, where it's like it's Dio pulling the strings, or it's Dio's disciple finishing what Dio started. While 2, 4, and 6 tend to take a more like these are the consequences of Dio's actions. Really a more if I had to distill the themes of JoJo to one single sentence or one single theme, it's the triumph of the human spirit and the innate goodness of humankind in general. Because the whole thing, really back to Dio, is that he chose to reject his own humanity to become a vampire. And really, it's the triumph of the humankind willing to say, no, we're going to do what's right for all people. Because every single protagonist has this relatively innate sense of goodness about them. They all want to do the right thing. Some have more interesting ways to get to that. Some are a lot more straightforward. Really, the most morally ambivalent of the JoJo's are probably Giorno from part 5 and then Johnny from part 7. They are, while one of is definitely more selfish, one they're both pretty like ruthless, so to speak. They're willing to murder to get what they want.
Okay.
But all in all is this sense of like these are good people who want to do good. And really, I think the best, other than Jonathan, I think Josuke from part 4 is the best one that kind of models that. His stand, Crazy Diamond, has the power to heal people, but it cannot affect himself. It's like showing how selfless he is, because stands are a reflection of one's soul. So Crazy Diamond literally has no benefit to Josuke. It can only benefit others. And that's what's so like inspiring about him as a character, because like, even though he's kind of he's still a teenager and he's still like he wants money, he wants nice things, he's still if like when he's put into a corner, he will always choose the right course of action.
Okay.
Yeah, because you get
Jonathan's just a good boy.
Yeah, you get that even with the. I think that was the very like one of the very first episodes in the first season is I think it's Jonathan getting destroyed because he's protecting Arena, yeah. And he's like I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it because I want to be a gentleman, and and all this like upstanding stuff. And it was like I was like it's extremely cheesy, but it's extremely like it's a really good look into his like, especially as the episodes go so far. It just like that is the core kind of personality trait that seems to be his and his dad too. His dad was the one where he's like even when he found out that was it
Dario took the
tried
ring.
Yeah, even though Dario stole from him and tried to just leave him for dead, he basically forgave him and let him and gave him back the ring that he had stolen, and he was like, just make sure you have an honest life, which of course didn't quite work out. But
so does Dio also have a stand as a vampire?
He acquires a stand in part 3, which is when stands were first introduced. Part 1 and 2 was only focused as in terms of power. It was more focused on the vampires and Hamon as an ability.
Kind of key style.
Yeah, Hamon's is kind of like chi and that kind of thing. Stands were introduced in part 3, and Dio's acquiring of the stand is actually what started the whole curse thing.
Okay.
Yes, Dio has a stand. It's called the World, or as he says in the Japanese sub, is Zawado. And I don't want to say what its ability is.
Okay, so that's what you had mentioned earlier. I was like, I thought I heard you mention the world, but I couldn't remember what you had said it could do. So
I'll definitely probably talk about it in the advanced session of what it does.
Okay, so you said Dio shows up. Does Dio, as a vamp, does he have progeny? Does he have descendants or people that he's...
That's something to say for the advanced session as well. The answer is yes. The answer is yes, he does, but they are a lot more relevant in speaking of some more spoilers.
Okay, so we have this original family line, the brothers, right? Like half brother, you said?
Well, no, so
Dio is an adopted brother. Dio is the adopted brother into the Joestar family.
But like so you have the Joestar family, and then one family line creates all these Joes of some sort.
Yeah, and it's something I actually find really interesting, is that the nickname of JoJo is literally fate itself, predestining each of these family members into a fight against the supernatural, against Dio or whatever evil they find themselves with. Because when Joestar family members don't have this nickname, they tend to be more neutral or just sort of like plot related objects. Okay. The ending to part 6 is heavily involves this, but I don't want to go into that.
And then Dio's got his own line, essentially, that he's not necessarily as directly going down as the JoJo Star family aspect.
Yes. Dio has his own progeny, which are one of them is a lot more important than the other ones, but they do all known ones like appear as characters in the series.
Okay. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like a Cain and Abel overarching idea.
That's actually a really apt comparison. Really, a Cain and Abel kind of thing is really what part 1 was.
Like, yeah, you definitely, like, you get that feeling right from the start with the part 1. Like, I will say that there are some significant differences, but as far as like the trope of like the brothers fighting each other, that's 100% accurate as to, and it's like, it's interesting watching the interplay between the two brothers and the father figure too.
Oh, Pens, that is the shirt. The one that you from Box Lunch, that is the shirt that I'm wearing.
I think Megan was able to get him a link and a whisper for it.
All right. Sweet.
Absorbing and trying to formulate the next direction, because it seems like the writer for the series really wanted to play with different styles and concepts of, you have your mysteries, you have your Wild West, you have your Prohibition-esque kind of feel, and I guess a little bit after the Prohibition within 30s-ish.
That's one of the things that I think a lot of people really love about JoJo's is how, like, it makes genre changes and character additions really integral to the story. While like certain properties, when they introduce characters, it could be hit or miss. Like, this character is very interesting. It makes it integral. You're almost like encouraged to really develop your feelings with these characters. Part 1 is gothic horror. It's kind of like Dracula. It's very, I would also describe it as biblical. It's sort of like this sort of like mythic. Like, when I rewatched the series, it was a lot more fun watching it especially part 1 the second time than it was the first time, because knowing where it all goes and being reminded this is where it all began is really sort of like heartwarming, I would say. Part 2, Battle Tendency, is a kind of this Indiana Jones swashbuckling film. Joseph, travels around the world fighting bad guys, taking names. Part 3 is also like a road trip, but Jotaro is kind of like this Clint Eastwood character. He's doesn't talk a lot. Man of action, man prefers to punch his way out of a situation than talk. Part 4 is a murder mystery. Part 5 is a mafia drama. Part 6 is a prison break. 7's a horse race. 8 is a sort of like a Twin Peaks kind of deal. Less murder mystery, more like mystery. It's almost Scooby-Doo-esque, but almost as silly, but way less childish. Just as silly, way less childish. That's a good one. Part 8 is Scooby-Doo.
Warn listeners. Sent me a link to this 1 second from every episode of JoJo.
Did I send you that? I thought I did.
Like,
or did someone else do it?
You suggested I look at it, and I watched this thing, and I was stunned. It's hard to catch any, like, the thing that stood out to me, and I mentioned it to you when we were talking about it, is that they take a lot of obviously pop culture references, with all the different stands having names of bands specifically, and the music being tied in. We had talked about that a little bit in our private conversation, but also that they really pay homage to a lot of other anime as well. And you had mentioned that is a common thing within quite a few animes, is that they not necessarily steal from each other, but they take similar See,
No,
don't. So
don't. Oh, that's
I don't even know what that is.
that's a
FLC,
whole
no
nother
clue.
animal.
No clue. I am not a weeb, guys. I'm trying so hard.
So
Like,
for those not in the chat, I just mentioned just wait until we make her watch FLCL.
I
Fully
have no
coolly.
idea what that is. But like,
Listen, listen, it
I'm
makes
trying
perfect
so hard.
sense.
I'm trying so hard.
Look,
I
part
don't
eight
even.
has. Sorry, at least JoJo's can make sense. If you think.
The head guitar, man. The head guitar. That's all you
I
need.
just I have to get around this idea of what an anime, like the Japanese style of anime, really tends to do. Like,
Mhm.
there's obviously like the drama anime, and there's obviously like there's drama in it, but that's a lot more comedy based and it's a lot more silly, and it's including a lot more personal references and pop culture references. Like that, if I can get around that, but watching it's not like watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
Oh yeah,
or
yeah.
Thank
No,
you, Megan.
like it's just
Megan says JoJo's make sense if you ignore reality, and that is very true.
it reminds
that's
me
anime
of
in general, though.
Adventure turned into an anime and turned up to 24. Like, we're just skipping all of the teens. We're going straight to 24.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, and you'll get different like the one of the things that like JoJo's kind of focuses on, and there's different ones, but a lot of these animes that are more like niche animes is they'll have like a really serious story going on in the background, but then they find really good ways of like sprinkling in just these ridiculous little memes or just like references to stuff. JoJo's is one. The other one that it was what was it? Fist of the North Star was the other one that we were talking about. Um, you know, it's and if it's done well, it's like you watch it and you when you're watching it, you recognize that this should not make sense, but it actually makes sense while you're watching it.
It's
I don't know if you can follow that, but like while you're watching it, you're like, oh, okay. And then you look back and you're like, what just
there's a
happened?
there's actually I'm gonna pull one episode from part three or one story, small like stand battle from part three. That's a very interesting one that I think is relevant is the stand battle of Death 13. So Death 13 is one of the tarot card based stands, and what it is a Death 13 is just Freddy Krueger from Nightmare on Elm Street. It kills people in your dreams. That's its whole thing. And the issue is that the wielder is a baby, an extremely intelligent baby, but
okay.
it's a baby, probably not even maybe 1 year old. And this incredibly intelligent child who is called a mannish boy who is basically hired by Dio to kill the protagonist, and so there's this sort of like ethical thing, like the only one who's aware of what's going on is Kakuen, who is the long range rock shooting stand Hierophant Green. He's the only aware. He keeps waking up with these nightmares, and he like because something's trying to kill him in his dreams, and he doesn't know what. And it all started when they got close to this baby, but you can't remember your dream when you wake up, so he's just waking up terrified and can't tell anybody. He just like he doesn't remember what's going on, and so this whole issue of like. And then Kakuen figures this out, like, it's the baby who has the stand. And so what do we do? Because everyone else thinks Kakuen's crazy.
Oh, jeez. Okay. It reminds me of Supernatural and Buffy a little bit with this kind of field too, because you have kind of, is it like like not necessarily a monster of the week, but like each episode you've got kind of a different thing going on, but it's still really crazy going on in it.
Part 3 is definitely the most. That one tends to drag the most because it is very much a monster of the week style formula where, like, oh, Jotaro and the others are now in Pakistan, and oh, what's going on? This spooky hotel. It might be an enemy stand. And then next thing you know, they're in the Arabian desert, and oh no, what's going on? It might be an enemy stand. And so that's what really all of them, starting with part 3, did. But part 3 definitely has the most pacing issues, in my opinion. Part 4 tends to deal with this a lot better because it is set in a singular town, and so it's like you never know about the person living 5 doors down,
Right.
and so like, and then you come across these strange set of like circumstances, and then like, oh, something's going on, something's not right, and then you figure out like, oh, this is the stand, this is what it's doing, and how they're trying to defeat it.
Okay. Gotcha.
And what's really great about part 4 is very few people die in part 4. Like, the whole thing is like, these are just normal people.
Right.
Who are just all doing their own thing.
Is it common that characters, like main characters, are killed off pretty quickly, or?
Let me put it this way. All your favorites are going to die.
Okay. So, a little bit George R.R. Martin. That's fine.
It's very Song of Ice and Fire like in that manner. But what I think is one of its strongest, it's never death just for the sake of the death. It's not just for the sake of the shock value. There's always a bigger theme going on with it. There's something always a lot more sad than just boom, character's dead.
Right.
There are some now it's a bit more pedantic, I would say, in parts 1 and 2 and probably 3, but I think 5 and 6 deal with this a whole lot better.
Okay.
And 7. It's just like death is always a threat in JoJo's, and that's something like that I really like about it, is that no one feels safe, and that ups the stakes better than I think other shows do.
Okay. Cool. All right. So I'd like to actually, I think we're at a good place to just cut the intro session, and I want to just know about these stand things. Like, I want to know if there's a macaroni stand, or
listen, she just really wants to know.
There's something like it.
Is the money in the banana stand, or?
I'm a hot dog stand.
There are some money stands. There are some money stands. I can name 2 right now.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, let's go ahead and wrap up this session, and then we can jump into the advanced session, because I want to know about these things, because I like the overarching of the family and how the story is written and how it's different in each different arc. But the concept of the stands, and I know it kind of comes and goes depending on which story you're in, that is a fun little magic like system that I want to really get into.
It's something that I really like about this series. This is one of the thousand of things that I like about this show, is that power stands in terms of a power system is way more flexible than something like Naruto or Dragon Ball does, where it's like people are constantly gaining power. At a certain point, you're just like, whatever. Stands. What I love about stands is every single stand, no matter how powerful it is, has a weakness. There is an exploitation to it. I'll get more in depth with it, but like even some of the most powerful stands in the series, like Star Platinum, they have drawbacks, and like there are things that Jotaro cannot do with his stand, and that makes him like it makes the teams like the JoJo's and their Jo Bros, they make a better team, because like while one stand may not be able to do stuff very far, there's always a good stand that can go more further away.
Yeah.
And
it's a deck building game.
Yeah, it's very deck building-esque, and that's what I really like about one of the 1,000 things that I love about the series.
I like it. Well, Blue, should we start doing shout outs and whatnot?
Yeah, let's do shout outs real quick. Neo, do you have any shout outs for us for this session?
I'll shout out to Megan for showing people my shirt in the chat.
Nice.
Yeah.
And for just sticking around, because
yep,
we appreciate that.
I'm gonna shout out to you for being brave to be yourself on a first date. That's impressive.
I spent another 6 only talking Destiny. So.
Like I said, being yourself. Super important. Tips to anybody who wants to be on a date and have a relationship that's worthwhile. Be yourself on the first date. Don't be somebody else, because if you are and the dates go on, then you're going to have to keep being that somebody else. Blue?
Yep. Oh, just real quick, a big shout out to everyone who has stayed sane this past week.
Yeah.
That's, I know like a couple people, I think there was something going on in politics, but what I was really talking about is the upcoming console release. It's very, very stressful time.
Yeah, everybody's looking at their delivery dates and their times, and I get it.
Can't come soon enough.
I know everyone's having to learn how to count. I hear that's a really difficult thing to figure out right now.
Microsoft is having a big issue with that, I'll tell you that.
God, yeah, but no, dude, seriously, thank you for everyone for just being civil. I know there's been a lot of raised tensions this past week, and I appreciate, I don't know, maybe it's because I've muted 90% of my timeline, but it seems very nice outside. So,
it's as somebody who hasn't muted, it actually has been. And the ones I want to actually make a shout out and a kind of announcement at the end of this with the fact that we have renamed the server, the Discord server. We are now, because of we're joined with the Guardians of Lore, we are now Lore Hub for all your Lore Hub needs. And just a shout out to our server. Everyone in there did a really good job of just, we're not gonna discuss politics. Like, no one's trashing anybody. Everyone's being really civil. Everyone's excited because of the ARG that dropped on Thursday. Like that. I mean, there's a lot of really, really good things happening right now, that with as dark as everything has been and how intensely tense it has been, it's a refreshing thing to have a place to be able to go that that you're not going to get attacked. You're not going to attack anybody else. Everyone's going to respect each other, and that's a good thing.
Yes. Also, thank you for giving me an excuse to troll everybody by giving me an option to put that as the logo. I've gotten so many messages with people who are like, well, now I'm afraid to open Discord in public spaces. You're welcome.
It's not that bad.
There's a certain drum and bass combo that might
oh my
be
gosh.
fitting.
I've been trying to figure out how to put that in there. It's
I think, yeah, I've got an idea for that. We could figure it out. We could figure it out.
Oh, man. So anyways, thank you for your time. And until next time, remember, with wisdom we conquer. Stand strong, stand tall, stand proud, and keep exploring.
Was that a JoJo's reference?
I hope you keep that in, Blue.
What, the stand proud?
No.
Or the Pornhub?
What you said.
What?
Was that? Yeah, I saved it in my recording. I saved it in my recording at least.
Yeah, you should have Neo's. Was that a JoJo's reference?
Oh, yeah.
I'll make it again.
Okay.
Oh, something went wrong, but we saved what you recorded so far.
Oh, that's fine. I got the backup. Yeah. Speaking of which, Green, do you want to stop and restart Audacity?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Especially if Neo's got had a little computer issue on his end. The other thing.
Rename this so I think I got it. Now.
Cool. The other thing that, if you would like to do while we're in between, is if you need to take a break or grab something to drink or just any sort of little break, we can do that real quick before we jump into the next one.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a drink real quick.
Gonna go make a cup of tea.
Yeah, tea. Pens so Julie sent Pens. We've been sending him care packages, right? And
wait, hang on. You've been sending Pens care packages?
Yeah, Pens has been getting care packages from Julie and I for a couple months now. And Celestial seasoning.
Usually
is
it's the
nearby.
other way around. Like usually it's the other way around with pins.
But like he's been getting it from us, and since Celestial Seasonings is nearby, we've been sending him tea.
Nice.
And Julie found, those UPS boxes that are just like pre-priced, whatever you can fit in the box goes.
Yes. How big of a box did Julie find?
Pretty sure Penn's got at least 8, if not 10 boxes of tea plus chocolate. 10 packages of tea. Yeah. She actually had to go back to the store because she did not get enough. She had to buy 3 more boxes so it would fit. Because my wife is a little OCD.
Okay, I'm back. Am I heard?
Yeah, you're heard.
Oh
my goodness.
God. Yeah,
but it's great. It's good stuff. It's great tea because I know you're gonna hate this,
really
Blue, but it's not
cool-
caffeinated for the most part.
Oh no, yeah, no. We finally broke down and I got an electric kettle and I've just been drinking
Nice.
tea nonstop. Like
Yeah.
I switched to cinnamon herbal tea late in the afternoon.
You need to try Bengal spice tea from Celestial.
That sounds like a tiger.
It is. It's got a tiger on the front. It's not. It's good job.
Don't ruin. You can't let. You're gonna make me just spit water.
I'm like, why would I drink a tiger? I don't understand.
But it's not like tiger's blood where it's just made up in a. It is just made up.
Adonis
Anyway,
DNA.
it's very cinnamon based and it's delicious.
What is it called?
Bengal spice.
Bengal.
There's also a type of tea, like they have Morning Thunder, which is one of their extra caffeinated teas. They have a super charged one that's called Fast Lane, where they actually take the caffeine dust that is pulled out of other teas that they're decaffeinating, and they put it in that.
I'm writing these. Morning Thunder is, I need like 5 boxes of that.
And then Fast Lane is the supercharged one.
Did you say Vaseline?
Fast.
No, that's for something. That's a different. That's a different supercharge.
It's like driving. Yeah.
That's a different supercharge. All right, Bengal spice.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Bengal spice is cinnamon based. Fast Lane and Morning Thunder are both black teas. They're some of their few black teas. But I can give you options for some of their herbal teas that are really quite delicious.
Yeah, I've been drinking, like, I've just been doing Earl Grey because it's just it's straight, like, it's just good. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've always, I know.
Bergamot is nice.
What is it? I think is it Lady Grey? Is the other version of it that's pretty good?
Uh-huh. Lady Grey has other citruses added, which is also really nice.
Oh, okay. But speaking of
so it's
get a cup of that real quick. Not Grey.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Whew. So how are things where you are, Neil?
Things are pretty good, I would say. I just finished a round of exams for class.
Nice. What are you studying again?
Aerospace engineering.
Ah. I'm curious which college you decided to go to, because I went to school in Wichita, Kansas, which has an aerospace program as well.
I'm going currently at Purdue University in Indiana.
Nice. Very nice. Wichita had a program that seemed to be slowly dying because of the factory in Wichita itself was condensing the last couple of years that I was there. So I don't know how well it's going anymore, but that's really cool. Are you in a specific area within the aerospace side?
So Purdue has a school, so it's the College of Engineering, and then I'm in the School of Aeronautical and Astronautical Engineering. I just abbreviate that to aerospace, and then we can kind of choose around disciplines, like more specific than that, and I'm currently doing like an astro-based thing because I really like space and stuff. really with dynamics and control and design. But I'm also minoring in astronomy.
That's awesome. So are you thinking of getting down in like Florida, or are you trying
Sorry, you were cutting out a bit. What were you saying?
to get down to NASA or something like that? Or are you
Yeah,
thinking more
my
commercial?
my current I would really prefer to do NASA. That stuff seems more interesting. I'm kind of my dream is sort of doing like scientific based like spacecraft, kind of like probes, like the Cassini based, like stuff like Cassini and Voyager and Pathfinder and stuff like that.
Things that are dealing with much deeper space than what we're currently doing this. What was the one? Oh gosh, there was one of the probes that went into and actually crashed into Jupiter. Like that was part of its last.
I well, the one at Jupiter right now is Juno, but you might be thinking of Cassini, which was at Saturn.
Okay, because I know they had actually sent one out there, and that they part of the research was to literally crash it into the planet and see what would happen.
Well, a couple, I think it was a year or two ago, the Cassini mission ended by sending it into Saturn's atmosphere as far as it can go until it would be crushed by gravity.
Sure.
Since Saturn's a gas giant, so it doesn't actually have a ground.
Right. Within, have you gotten the journal for Destiny? I'm gonna shift just slightly.
No, I did not get it. I can't really afford the collector's editions, even though I really want it.
Have you?
I have read it though. Yes, I have read it. It was very interesting.
I was curious whether or not you knew if the stuff that they talked about when it came to Europa about the gravity within and on Europa
Yeah,
is.
that stuff's very accurate.
That's cool. That's something, yeah, I wasn't sure. And they mentioned in there that one of the things is that the gravity on Venus was also much more until the Traveler did its thing there.
The interesting thing about Venus is it's basically the same mass as Earth. A lot of people consider Venus to be Earth's sister planet, and so gravity would basically be identical. What kills you is the pressure, which is a different thing. Temperature and pressure would absolutely destroy you on Venus. So like gravity's not doing the like crushing. It's the pressure of its incredibly dense atmosphere.
Interesting. I'm curious how, I mean, isn't Europa one of those moons or satellites that has the oscillating atmosphere because of the temperature change from one side of Jupiter to the other?
Yes,
I wonder.
I'm pretty sure. I know Io is, but
Yeah.
Europe is a really interesting thing because it's a lot of ice, and we suspect it might have a liquid ocean underneath.
Right.
I know, but as far as we know, Titan orbiting Saturn is the only one with like standing liquid.
Right, the liquid methane. That's cool. I like it.
Titan is really interesting, and one of the things I did not entirely like about Bungie's adaptation of Titan was one how blue it was. Titan wouldn't be very blue; it'd actually be very very yellow. Think of how Venus looks in Destiny 1. That would be very similar to what Titan looks like on the surface. It's very yellow and brown, and then there's actually a lot of ground. There's actually not as much liquid ocean as one might think from Destiny 2. There are 3 main seas, and they're all in the northern hemisphere, like by the North Pole, including Kraken Mara, and the others are like they're basically make one big water system, plus like a myriad of lakes just scattered around the planet. It's not very much not a liquid ocean as
right.
Destiny 2 might make you think.
A bit more fantasy, science fiction on it.
Yes.
Drew says, I'm very appreciative of how they're starting to confirm which celestial bodies have not been changed by the Traveler, and the name of the first 2 Jovian moons being changed from Ares 1 lore is are still a mystery.
Well, if it's not Io and it's not Europa, then that would just leave Ganymede and Callisto.
Mm-hmm.
Because Io was the last place the Traveler touched.
Right.
So if there were two prior, that would only leave, at least of the there's actually like, we estimate there's a little around 100 satellites that orbit Jupiter, but the Galilean satellites of Io, Callisto, Ganymede, and Europa, those are the biggest ones.
Right. It would be interesting. I mean, there's a few different planets that also have not been actually touched by the Traveler, because you think about Mercury and.
No, that was touched by the Traveler. Mercury. It was a garden world. The Traveler converted.
Forgot about
Mercury into a garden, and then the Vex turned it back.
That's right. That's right. Gosh, it's been so long since we've done planetary lore. Which ones? Okay, so Mars got touched, Mercury got touched, Venus got touched, Earth obviously got touched, but it didn't necessarily need terraforming.
It was Io, probably I'm assuming the other two Galilean moons, Callisto and Ganymede, and then maybe some other moons beyond the beyond Jupiter, maybe Triton, but we don't know for sure.
Okay, I need you to settle something for me though. We call it jokingly enchiladas.
Wait, what's the word we're talking about?
Enceladus?
Enceladus?
Is that actually how you say it?
I'm pretty sure it's Enceladus.
Okay.
False. It's enchiladas.
You have no room to talk, Eigen State. I'm gonna make fun of you about that. I called you out in chat on that.
Which one was that one?
It's eigenstate. Eigenstate. It's a mathematical thing. You have eigenvalues, eigenvectors, eigenstates, stuff like that.
Oh.
I just mispronounce everything, so.
So I found a book. I actually downloaded it to my Kindle. It is, what is it? I need my phone. I had to download it because it had too many buzzwords in the title for me. It's a math book, which sounds so interesting. But open idomorphism, the philosophy of ontological mathematics.
Nope.
That's a whole branch of math that I don't know anything about.
It's literally so far it's the concept and the philosophy of the original mover.
Oh, okay. So it's like
Euclidean.
Yeah, so it's like Euclidean, non-Euclidean geometry.
It kind of goes into that. But the guy...
That was the only math class that I did well at.
Unfortunately, the writer is a little bit more self-indulgent in his own
likes writing. He likes writing in purple.
God, no, I mean, he's not flowery. He's just
so I was looking
of himself.
I did it. I'll have to send this to you. You'll get a kick out of this. Hang on, let me see if I can find it again. Where'd it go?
Viru, are you suggesting that that the Traveler speeds up a planet's own development?
That would be really cool, actually. Instead of terraforming. The problem, though, is would the planet have the initial seeds?
No. Mercury doesn't. Venus might. I hate it when people say aliens were discovered on Venus. No, they weren't. They were not. Stop saying it.
Yeah.
We just possibly found a way that life could evolve on Venus. These are all possibilities.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even be, most scientists wouldn't even think that would be the first thing. That would be like, there could be a myriad of other ways that certain substances are found.
It'd be interesting. Did you see, I actually had tweeted out an article from space.com about the lava planet. That it's basically
the hellscape planet.
Well, it's a planet in its early development
No,
before it's actually fully cooled. I
right,
thought
but
that was really, really cool.
I saw an article about, I think it was about the same thing, but it was like they're like literally this is like a hellscape. Like it's like, yeah, that's what happens to things before they cool off.
You should have seen Earth. You should
Yeah,
have seen
that's
Earth a few million years
I'm
ago.
like,
Yeah, that's how they compared it. They had said that it was very highly active and hot and not suitable for life for a long time, and so it started cooling. I love it. I love that kind of
The
stuff.
sun is a deadly laser.
Mhm.
Not anymore. There's a blanket.
All right, are we ready for round 2?
yes.
Oh yes.
Cool.
Are you gonna count?
All right,
Just tell me when to hit record.
here we go. You got yours up, Jay?
Yep.
All right, 3, 2, 1, click. Oh, Vuru thinks it's more like the traveler weaving the timelines together via planets.
Similar to what the ghosts do for us.
But yeah, I mean, it depends on if you believe that the ghosts are actually pulling us from other timelines when we're revived.
Well, that was one of the future war cult theories.
Right. And if that's the case, though, Vance should be mad at Ghost instead of just mad at the Titan pulling the perfect paradox through.
Well, not necessarily, because because the way, no, because there's a difference between pulling something and putting it in place of, and pulling something that has got multiple iterations of the same thing. Because when you start putting things that have repeated instances on the same timeline, you start increasing the likelihood of paradoxical occurrences within the multiverse. And so, like with the sundial, what it's doing is it's literally breaking reality to create instances of the same object. Whereas with the ghost, it's more of like splicing, like because our
taking
instance
us
died
one side and putting us in a different one.
pretty much, yeah.
It's a switchboard.
Yes, yeah. It's the old
Unplug.
The what are they called?
Switchboards.
Telephone. Are those switchboards? The ones where they pull them out. They're like, we'll connect you right now.
Yeah, they're called switchboards.
Yep.
Peggy Carter did it.
Yes, Peggy Carter did do that.
Anyways.
Hello, operator.
Oh, man. All right. And welcome to Focus Fire Chat, recorded live on November 7th, 2020, over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat, as we continue our discussion over the animated series JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. This particular bizarre episode will serve as what we have come to call the advanced session of the week's exploration. Congratulations to those who are still with us. Before we go any further, however, let's go through a quick introduction of who all we have with us on the show. As always, this is your host, Blue Crew 86.
I want to know what a stand is, and if I can have a stand that gets me cheese.
Calm down, Dwyer.
Maybe.
Hey. Now, cheese is one of the tastiest things I'm allowed to eat.
Oh, that's true. That's right. I forgot. Last but definitely not the least, in the hot seat as guest co-host, we have our good friend Neo Mad Dog. Neo, how are you doing?
The JoJo brain rot continues to spread to other people.
I just love the concept.
Soon Green, every time she sees something strange happen, she's just gonna ask, "Is this the work of an enemy stand?"
But I want to find my own stand. I want to have my own.
I will be happy to talk about how to get your own stand.
Yes, I want this. Because this reminds me a little bit of the session that Blue and I did in Resist This for the Brandon Sanderson. Just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
But I want my own stand. All right, so
I'm just gonna let Green go on this one.
How do I get my own stand, Neo?
Okay, So stands as a concept are introduced in Stardust Crusaders, the third major story arc. Stands were initially had some very simple premises, like Star Platinum. It punches things really hard and really fast. Uh, the Death 13 kills people in dreams because it's Freddy Krueger. Yellow Temperance is a shapeshifter. Emperor is a gun. It's literally the stand is a gun. But as it got more, as the series continued, they got more complex. They're so complex now that in part 8 there is a stand called Fun Fun Fun. What it does is that it can control your limbs perfectly.
Does it have your daddy take your T-bird away?
I wish. It's actually way more terrifying. It will control your limbs perfectly, only if the stand is directly above the target and the limb is already injured. So the stand user, Ojiro Sasame, has to set traps in a room in order to make the protagonist hurt himself, so the stand would control him. Yeah, that's
Green's reaction is I wish we could capture that as an audio clip.
I'm sure some people could make it into a GIF. I'm sure it could become a GIF on the internet at this point. Like, I've seen it for Critical Role. We could have FFC GIFs. It's a thing.
Some other complex stands are tubular bells, which is a balloon that is actually hard as steel and is usually and this user will often blow the balloon / stand into the shape of like a balloon dog, and it relentlessly tracks the target and also explodes into shrapnel. Like nail.
So
like
it's
these
a
things
killer
are like
balloon.
Yeah,
it's a killer balloon.
It's a killer balloon. Wet chinchilla. I will not forget about Iggy. Iggy is a dog that was introduced in part 3 with the stand the fool. It was one of the last tarot card based ones, and it just manipulates sand. But the stand itself looks like a dog, a dog like disguised as like a native, like a caricature Native American, but it's also like half car.
Okay, say that one more time. My brain stops.
I gotta find a picture. The
Native American and half
JoJo.
car?
It's okay. So I'm looking at a picture. Imagine a dog, but it's robotic. And it's got like feathers, like a stereotypical Native American headdress. It's like feathers on the back. Also, its hind legs are wheels.
Okay.
Look,
sure.
just Google image search these 3 words: the fool, JoJo.
The fool JoJo, and just image search. Why? Why?
I told you, it's a dog car with a Native American headdress.
And it's got a gold mask.
No, it's sometimes gold, it's sometimes silver, depending on the artist. It depends on which source you're looking at. The anime has it gray. The colored manga is gold. But it manipulates sand. It's also made of sand. The stand is sand.
But it's got wiring and...
I told you it's robotic.
But it's sand.
A lot of stands... So some stands are made to look like organic creatures. I think Star Platinum is a good option. It looks very human-like. Horus, the stand is very bird-like. Other stands are made to look like robots. Soft and Wet the stand Soft and Wet is very robotic looking. And then stands can also just be anything. Like literally, let your imagination go wild. A stand can probably look like whatever. So like some take the form of physical objects. So there's a stand in part 3 called Tot, named after the Egyptian god. What it is, it's a comic book that can predict the future.
Okay.
That's a one of the episodes is that its user is trying to defeat the Joestar group by seeing how to do it with the stand. But the thing is that it's what happens in the manga has to happen, but it's never the way you might think it's gonna happen.
Sure. Kind of
There's
Final
always
Destination
there's
esque.
always interpretations to like
Sure.
how it might differ from reality. It's very
Okay.
very interesting.
So here's my next question. You have enemy stands, and then you have personal stands. Do you sort of, right? Like, do you kind of pick and choose, or are you just attracting them? Are they attracted to you? Or is some weird aspect of your personality?
So stands are what described as reflections of one's own soul. It's your own soul manifested as a supernatural ability.
That is really fucked up for some of these stands.
Some of the stand users are really fucked up.
Oh my goodness.
There's certain that I don't think I should mention on a podcast.
Okay.
But depending on how depraved of a human being you might be, the stand can reflect that. I think the biggest example of that is the enemy stand user from Part 5, Ghiaccio. No, not Ghiaccio, sorry. Cioccolata.
Oh my god.
Yes, it's chocolate. That's Italian for chocolate. Most enemy stand
I love that.
Most enemy stand users from Part 5 are named after Italian food.
Yeah.
Prosciutto, pesci, risotto nero.
I like it.
Cioccolata, carne, so on and so forth. Anyway, so Cioccolata has a stand called Green Day. And Green Day's ability is it emits a fungus that will disintegrate your body if you move to a lower elevation.
Okay.
This man is such a monster of a human being that in his backstory, it's revealed that he was a medical student who specifically became a surgeon in order to very purposefully kill patients and watch them die before him. He would actually restrict the amount of anesthesia given to his patients so they'd wake up during surgery and see Cioccolata holding their organs. Giorno at one point says that this is the stand of this is someone who doesn't have any strength. This is someone who's enjoying it.
Yeah.
His assistant is not the right word, but it's the most family friendly word to use.
Okay.
Will often carries a camcorder with him to record the victims of Green Day and watch their expression and record the expressions of fear as the people disintegrate.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, this is the whole, and he is the victim of what we call the 7-page muda, where Giorno spends 7 pages of the manga beating the crap out of him.
Jeez. Okay.
When was that written?
So
that would be in the mid-90s. That would have come out in the mid-90s.
So
Hirohiko Araki was listening to Green Day before it was cool. Before American Idiot.
No, I was actually trying to figure out if that was in reference to Harold Shipman.
Maybe. I know there's actually I know for sure there is a Holes reference in Part 6.
Holes as in like the book?
Yeah, one of the characters has the exact same backstory as Zero from Holes.
Interesting.
Zero and Stanley I think at like the same time or something like that. It's almost scary how similar they are. But so in order to get your own stand depends on the continuity.
Okay.
The original continuity, stands are described as a virus. Well, a alien virus or bacteria that usually kills people. It usually just kills the victim outright, but on it there's an off chance that if you get infected with the virus and if you have the potential and the willpower for it, you will develop a stand.
Okay.
They're so named because most stands will stand behind you. That's not sort of the explanation given. It's more related to how it's pronounced in the original Japanese would be satando, which is very similar to the expression ghostly ripple, and that would be related to, therefore related to Hamon or the ripple
Okay.
from part 1 and 2. But you can the origin of the virus was on a meteorite, and someone hundreds or thousands of years prior to the events of the main series crafted arrows out of these out of the meteorite, and those are known as the stand arrows. And these stand arrows, if you get pierced with it, it will either kill you just outright, or you will develop a stand from it.
Okay, so that's one set of continuity.
The vast majority of characters in the original continuity, so parts 3 through 6, acquired their stands through this arrow. However, if a family member gets pierced with it, oftentimes most of their blood relatives will also acquire stands forcibly, and there's also the off chance that you could literally just be born with it.
Okay. So the spread of the stand within the family thing is more viral aspect of it. Would it spread to community, or is it specifically just...
it is only to the target. It is only to, like, you have to come in contact with the either the meteorite or be related to someone with the meteorite who has already been hit.
Okay. And
that's actually why the Joestar family acquired stands in the first place. This is a kind of a spoiler for the ending of part 1. So I'm sorry to anybody who's still listening and cares about spoilers, but Jonathan is killed at the end of part 1. He sacrifices himself to lock away Dio on a burning ship. But because Dio was a vampire and only a head at the time, Dio steals Jonathan's body. He literally grafts his head to Jonathan's body, thus making Dio during the times of part 3 a blood relative to the Joestars. And so when he gets pierced by the arrow, every single living Joestar also acquires a stand because they're related to Jonathan. And it's also why Holly, Jotaro's mother, falls ill because she cannot handle the stand, and it's going to kill her. So that if they defeat Dio, they'll save Jotaro's mother.
Okay.
Oh, is that the curse?
That is the curse. It's known as the Joestar curse, where every single family member living in the every single living family member acquires a stand. That also brings us to Giorno. So Giorno's half British. He's actually the son of Dio.
Okay. So can I pause you real quick and clarify something? So if every living member gets a stand in the JoJo family, does every single one of them have to struggle through the same pain of either you're going to live or you're going to die because of the aspect of it?
Yes. Though it's sort of like if your willpower, if you don't have enough willpower or enough fighting spirit, it will just slowly kill you. But if you have enough of it, you can master it and utilize it for your own ends, which is why Joseph Joestar, Jotaro Kujo can properly utilize their stands right away, is because they had the necessary willpower to do so. But young infant Josuke, who was Joseph's illegitimate son, who was literally only a toddler, wasn't able to handle it and was going to die if it wasn't for Dio's defeat.
Okay. And so Dio has a son as well, besides the...
So Dio never purposefully sired a child. It was Dio did not know about Giorno or any of the other sons of Dio that were in part 6. Giorno is the only one with the JoJo title, and therefore he is the most goodest of the 4.
Okay.
Giorno has the gold experience, and it's noted very early on in part 5 that Giorno's hair turned blonde. Dio was a blonde, while the rest of the Joestars had darker hair. When Giorno was a teenager, his hair suddenly turned blonde with no like, he didn't bleach it or anything. It just suddenly became blonde. And so Jotaro, at the start of part 5, sent Koichi, from a character from part 4, to go investigate Giorno to see if Giorno was anything like his father. And after a stand battle against Black Sabbath, Koichi determines that Giorno is indeed the same type of Joestar as the rest of the family. He has the same good heart and sense of righteousness, while the other sons of Dio were less so.
Okay. Now, can you please, is it just a fetish of the writer to have band names for everything?
So, Hirohiko Araki, the author of JoJo's, is what we like to call a Westaboo instead of a Weeaboo. In fact, he's gone on record to say he actually listens to very little Japanese music. He almost primarily listens to English and American and surprisingly a lot of Latin music. He's a big fan of Santana. JoJo's is sort of like a lot of us in the community like to say that JoJo's is Araki's playlist and he's recommending it to hundreds of people. Like, listen to this music. And so nearly every single character and every single stand after, like, starting at the right at the end of part 3 is named after a band or song or artist or album or whatever. The first one, I should add, this is funny. You'll find this really funny. The first stand is Cream. Its user is Vanilla Ice.
Yes.
So put that together, you get Vanilla Ice Cream.
I like it.
I actually didn't get that till my second watch.
That is funny.
That joke flew right over me. But every single, it's hard to, like, I can't name it. If you put me on the spot, I cannot name every single stand. There's just way too many.
Sure.
But there are some, every single one of them past Cream is named after pop culture.
That's really impressive. And I'm sure
it's still going. The most recent stand from part 8 is called Wonder of You, and that is an Elvis song.
Yeah.
He goes into modern music. It's not exclusive to just like 60s prog rock or anything like that. There is a stand in part 8 called Born This Way.
Yeah.
There's a stand in part 8 called Doggy Style. It's a Snoop Dogg album.
Mm-hmm.
There's a stand in part 5 called Notorious B.I.G.
Also,
or Notorious Big.
Yeah.
But he mainly focuses on earlier stuff.
Yeah.
There's very few Japanese pop culture references. The first one is the character design of, there's an enemy stand user in part 4 called Akira Itoishi. He is made to look like a famous Japanese guitarist. The first stand named after a Japanese song is Chocolate Disco in part 7.
Chocolate Disco. What did Chocolate Disco do?
Chocolate Disco is the game Battleship.
Oh, so you got forced into playing this game?
So how it works is that, so there's this guy called Disco.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally just disco spelled out, and you have to basically like pronounce the letters individually. So disco. He announces that his name is Disco, his stand is Chocolate Disco, and he's going to fight you. That's literally all. He's only had 3 lines the entire chapter, and what he does is that so on his wrist is like this like old timey typewriter like switch thing. And then it deploys out a grid on the ground. And so what happens is that if you throw something at Disco, he will tap on the switch thing on his wrist, and the projectile headed to him will go to that spot on the grid on the ground.
Oh my goodness.
And the whole thing's that he's fighting Gyro Zappelli, whose literally only power is throwing a ball with the spin. It's a very powerful steel ball, but he just throws balls, and so he's literally fighting someone who can just redirect all of the balls he's throwing. It's one chapter. And what's really funny is that the song Chocolate Disco constantly repeats the refrain, Chocolate Disco, or Chocolate Disco, as they would say it. And that's sort of like a meta joke of saying, like, this guy only has 3 lines, but the song that his stand is named after constantly repeats the same line over and over and over and over again.
A lot of songs that do that.
Yeah, but Chocolate Disco is irritating to me. I've listened to the song a dozen times, and I like it, but oh my god, is it the same? It's the same thing over and over again. It's a good song. It's by Perfume.
Okay.
It was actually included at the request of his daughter.
Okay.
I guess
that's kind of cool.
Yeah. How does he get past all the copyright?
The answer is that he doesn't. So Viz Media, who is basically the owner of the property and is responsible for importing it to the West, has a lot of issues with this. I believe the prevailing theory is that Prince was the big issue because Prince didn't want a figure called the Gold Experience and not receive royalties.
Okay.
So what they do, Viz Media does, is that for any official English release, they have to change the names. Some of them fly by. Actually, Robert E.O. Speedwagon just completely made it through, as well as the stand Heaven's Door was completely unaffected. Some of them just changed to relatively innocuous things that are just very similar. So Crazy Diamond became Shining Diamond.
Okay.
Gold Experience became Golden Wind.
Did this happen in the subs or the subtitles?
It happened in the subtitles and any English dub and any English release of the manga.
Okay, so if anybody would actually watch this without having any prior knowledge about either understanding Japanese or what the concepts were generally about, they would not catch this at all.
Yes. However, they still even in the Japanese dub of the show, they still say the words as was originally written, and so it's I don't want to say bastardized, but it is because of how Japanese is written and pronounced. It does change some of the words.
Sure.
So Gold Experience becomes Gold Experiencu. Sticky Fingers is Sticky Fingers. There's a lot of vowels added, but that's just the way that it was originally written, as close as it could to English in the katakana.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting for him to talk about Limp Bizkit though.
Limp Bizkit. So some of these stands are much more difficult to get across what they do in the name. So Limp Bizkit's one. I'll get to that one last because that one's the funniest. We'll start with Sticky Fingers. So Sticky Fingers is the ability to plant zippers on objects, and that opens up pocket dimensions. So what Bruno Bucciarati can do is, like, he can put a zipper on a wall and he can go through the wall into outside or wherever the next room is, or just access the space in between.
Mm-hmm.
So Sticky Fingers is so named after a Rolling Stones album, and the Rolling Stones album had a pair of pants on it with the zipper in the forefront. That's why it's so named. But you can't get across that normally, so it's named to Zipper Man in any English release.
Oh, jeez.
The next funniest one is the main villain of Part 7 stand, Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. Or it's usually abbreviated to D4C, D the number 4 and C. It's quicker to say than all of those syllables. 2, it's quicker to write, and 3, you can actually get around the copyright with just D4C.
Right.
That's not a copyrighted term. But to spell it out completely, you can't do that. That's an AC/DC song. So they called it "Filthy Acts at a Reasonable Price." There's an ongoing joke to make even crazier names. My favorite one is "Dimes for Crimes." And this one sounds bad, but I like this one a lot. Not gay, but $20 is $20.
God, what? Not gay, but $20 is $20. What? What was the original?
Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, but that's called Filthy Acts at a Reasonable Price.
Oh my god.
There's another meme is it was like, due to inflation, dirty deeds will now be done at market value.
Oh god.
But at the request of Blue, I must mention Limp Bizkit. Limp Bizkit is a stand introduced in Part 6 by the prisoner of Green Dolphin Street Prison, Sportsmax. It creates invisible ghost zombies of dead animals.
Wait.
So if the user is by a corpse of an animal, like a dog or a raccoon or whatever, Limp Bizkit can conjure a ghostly version of that to attack his opponent.
But no one can see the ghostly?
No one can see it.
But, oh god.
It's like the Hellhounds from Supernatural.
I don't watch that one either, Jay.
So to get around the fact that Limp Bizkit's a heavy rap metal group,
Yeah, the band.
it's called Flaccid Pancake.
Oh my god, I'm done. Oh.
I'm not making this up. You could believe anything I say, but I am literally not making this. You can look up to the JoJo wiki, and that is the thing. That is the Western words that they use for Limp Bizkit. It's Flaccid Pancake.
Oh god. Jay's just loving this at this point. So is chat. I see you guys.
I saw that in the notes, and I'm like, we're talking about this. Like, this one's gotta be talked about.
I had every intention to talk about Flaccid Pancakes.
Okay. What does Flaccid Pancakes do?
It's Limp Bizkit. It's just the words.
It's the ghost, yeah.
It's Limp Bizkit.
It's the ghost dog.
Yep. They just have to change the names for the official Western releases to avoid copyright infringement.
You know, Matt Mercer voices the English dubs in this country. Like
he plays Jotaro. Matt Mercer is Jotaro in the English dub.
What is Matt Mercer's stand, or do I want to know?
Matt Mercer plays Jotaro, who has the stand Star Platinum. That's just the tarot card one, and so they can say that all they want.
He's safe. It's okay.
Okay.
Star Platinum.
Thank God. I was I'm just waiting for him.
He doesn't have Flaccid Pancake.
If you like Kevin Goff, though, he has to say Emperor Crimson instead of King Crimson.
I'm just waiting for somebody to have Open Taco or Taco Bar.
I want to talk about the weirdest naming one. So I don't think I put this in the show notes, but so there's one the first enemy stand other than Hierophant Green, but is the first enemy stand introduced in Part 3 was Tower of Grey. Tower is represents calamity. So what it is that Tower of Grey was utilized by someone who purposely commits accidents. Plane crashes is the one that was given. He creates plane crashes.
Okay.
So Tower of Grey is a small fly. That's all it is. It's a small fly, probably around 3. Well, not small. It's actually pretty big for a fly, but it's a very small stand. It's probably around, I would say, 3 inches wide.
Okay.
And it just kills people and creates disaster.
It is literally just a giant fly.
Yep. The Tower of Grey stand is a fly. A super powerful fly.
That is terrifying.
Now, there is a stand introduced in part 4 that is called. Actually, I don't want to reveal the name yet. What it is a giant electrical pylon, like one of those big things you see out in the country. It's a big electrical pylon, and it basically prevents. It can only keep one. It has to keep one person in at all times, and if you try to escape it, it turns you into the tower. Like it converts you to metal, and you become one with the tower. So one person has to stay inside the tower at all times. And do you know what this tower stand is called? Superfly.
Okay. I've just Blue, help.
So
the Superfly is a tower, and the tower is
Yeah.
a Superfly.
The thing is, I'm understanding what you're telling me.
her brain just man at this point.
I'm just trying to figure out if there's going to be anything out there that isn't going to be kind of an absurdity. Like it's obviously a thing that works, but
But I mean, talking about that, let's dive into the memes because
right.
JoJo and memes is.
It's the same word at that point. JoJo memes. It's there. You go. They're synonymous.
Jay, he did to me what you and Ben do to me with Supernatural. Like he started talking to me in memes, and it's like, come on.
So, JoJo, because of the strange, bizarre, crazy nature of the series, it just lends people to make memes about it because nothing makes sense. You have to cope with it with humor.
Sure. Yeah. Like I'm choosing to laugh at it. I still think I need to be high to like watch.
I was 100% sober consuming the entire series.
You probably'd have to be, because if you were high, you would I don't know how you would interpret all of this, because it's beyond what you'd like. I don't know. I think guys, words are hard now.
Most people would recognize the "to be continued" meme. I think everybody grandma who spends time on the internet has seen like one of those stops like "to be continued" and that driving bass line happens. That is from JoJo. That was my like complete surprise watching JoJo for the first time, is like, oh, this is where that came from.
Yeah.
The "to be continued" with this song, yes, is "Roundabout" by the English prog rock band. Yes. The thing about JoJo's is that it does a Western pop culture song for every season, for the ending credits for the show. And it's a different one depending on they choose one that is what Araki would have been listening to at the time of publication. So Roundabout was for the first 2 parts.
Okay.
Then it was "Walk Like an Egyptian" by the Bangles for Stardust Crusaders. And then the second half had "Last Train Home" by Paul Mente Group, which makes me sad every time I hear it now. Part 4, in its entirety, used the song "I Want You" by Savage Garden, which is really good. Part 5, instead of "Gangster's Paradise" by Coolio, we were so close to greatness. We instead got "Freakin' You" by Jodakai. It is a very pseudo-romantic R&B song explicitly about sex. Part 5 does not have sex in it. There's nothing romantic in Part 5. Also, it's my girlfriend's least favorite ending. Every time I play it, she says turn it off. It was also the only one she insisted we skip.
Oh.
I was like, nope, we're not listening to this one.
We're not listening to this one.
The second half of Part 5 used "Modern Crusaders" by Enigma. My biggest hope for Part 6 is that at least the last one will be "What a Wonderful World," as performed by Louis Armstrong, because that is the title of the last chapter of Part 6. What a Wonderful World.
Megan has confirmed in chat that she skips it every time.
I love that song.
Some other memes include the "It was me, Dio." That one is currently banned from the JoJo meme subreddit due to overuse.
Oh Jesus!
It's golden. It's golden when the subreddit itself bans it.
So on Halloween, my roommate and his fiance were getting pretty drunk, and I basically insisted that we watch the first couple episodes of JoJo. And when he has never consumed JoJo before. He only gets it from me. And so we watched the first one, but we all knew that it was me, Dio. And so at the time it was said, we literally all at the same time just shouted, "But it was me, Dio." Another more popular one that people know are the, "Oh, you're approaching me?" And then, "Can't beat the shit out of you without getting closer." "Oh ho, come as close as you like." That's used in a lot of like meme compilations, people like when two people are approaching, they'll play the audio. The Giorno's theme from the anime Il Vento d'Oro, which is Italian for literally the wind of gold, was often actually used on TikTok a lot as a sort of know you type meme. They'll play the piano. They'll put on the piano riff. It's like doom doom doo 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 doo. That is the theme of Giorno from Part 5. Okay. And then I'm sure people who have watched Destiny like compilations have heard the ora 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 ora, then muda 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 muda. I can say that faster. Ora is doesn't mean anything really. It kind of means like come on or take that or whatever. It's literally Jotaro saying like take that over and over again. Mm-hmm. Muda is useless in Japanese. It is literally the person saying your efforts are useless.
Okay.
And since Giorno is Dio's son, Giorno also says Muda in his attack rushes. That's where the 7-page Buddha comes from, is that Giorno beat the crap out of Chocolata for 7 pages, only saying Muda, except for like page 4 where he went really, really loudly. I am almost scared to just do it on the podcast. I kind of want to, but I'm like, people are going to hear that.
Yeah.
And so like these memes are like so prevalent despite being really kind of recent in the Western public conscious that mm-hmm. like I don't think I've seen any property, any like anime have these many memes outside of its own community other than Dragon Ball. Because right. I think everybody's heard the like it's over 9,000 stuff like that, but
yeah.
I think a lot of people, but most people know that's from Dragon Ball. I think a lot of people know JoJo memes without knowing JoJo.
Well, it's over 9,000 is a direct reference to the Power Ball. So that makes sense that they would know that that's Vegeta flipping his shit over. I've given up on not cursing during this episode because I
brain's done.
But the JoJo ones they seem to be so easily assimilated within culture because they're all things that tend to be, except with the exception of like Muda Muda Muda, right? Like that one's fairly specific, but the rest of them seem to be easily brought in as a meme.
Then actually thinking of Stan Rushes, one of my favorites is Trish Una from Part 5. She has a stand called Spice Girl. Its stand rush when it punches really fast is "Wanna Be."
Yes, I'm here for that one.
Wanna be.
So tell me what you want. Anyway, I am back. I am with that one. Spice Girls.
Yes.
I don't care if they're like a 90s.
I am 99% confident I have found JoJo references in Destiny.
Yeah.
So one of the emotes, it is the pointing of the fingers, like leaning back. It's a blue emote. I'm pretty sure that's a reference to a few JoJo poses. I actually have it on all 3 of my characters in Destiny.
Okay.
Also, the exotic ship from Black Armory, the Platinum Starling.
Okay,
I am
Platinum
nearly
Star.
convinced that is supposed to be Star Platinum as a
Uh-huh.
reference. Its flavor text is power, grace, tradition, which really kind of exemplifies like what JoJo's about. It's about like, especially Star Platinum, it is like this powerful stand. And Jotaro is a Joestar, like my lineage. He's inherited this sort of legacy. That's what I'm convinced.
Yeah, I mean, it's very possible. They have references to so many different things,
I'm
both
just waiting.
classical text and not.
I'm waiting for the torture dance emo. So there is a scene in part 5 where, so the group had just defeated an enemy stand user, and Bruno Bucciarati with sticky fingers has taken off the guy's head. He's still alive, and then Mista puts a fishing hook through his eyelid and zips his mouth shut with sticky fingers and hangs him on top of like a rail of a yacht. So he's just hanging by his eyelid, and it's just the head. And then he puts on glasses so the suns get burned into the eyes. And while this is happening, the characters of Mista, Narancia, and Fugo literally just dance in front of this head. And it's called the torture dance, and it's pure gold.
That is so gruesome.
I highly recommend looking up on YouTube.
No.
JoJo's torture dance. It's hilarious, and it's a music video. It was 4 panels in the manga, and it's a minute-long music video in the anime. It is excellent.
No,
I have the song from it on my Spotify playlist. By the way, most of the soundtrack is on Spotify if you want to listen to it. Even if you don't want to,
like, I'm done.
Even if you don't want to watch the show, I actually highly recommend listening just to the Part 5 soundtrack. It is an experience, a gold experience, but it's an experience well worth it.
Is it okay? I'm gonna. How would you suggest somebody start watching JoJo's? Like, do you start from the very beginning, or are you suggesting like they start at a certain point, find the manga? Where should they go?
I highly recommend just starting the series at the start. Now, I understand for a lot of people, part 1 is pretty dull, especially if they've consumed other animes before. Part 1 can seem pretty boring, some might say. Jonathan is very uninteresting as a character. He's just goody two shoes as
Superman.
As he's literally Superman, but none of the fun things about Superman, in my opinion. That being said, Jonathan is like I love him to death because of like what he started as a character and who he stands for, but he's not as interesting to watch. I also find part 3 drags a bit, in my opinion, especially on a rewatch, but that's my own issue. Part 2 is really, I think a lot of people figure out like why they like JoJo's in part 2. Joseph, as I mentioned, is very much like a Cade 6 like character. He's always got a trick up slip. Actually, honestly, come to think of it, he's more like Marcus Wren. In terms of like sheer craziness and audacity of what he can do, Joseph's a lot of fun to watch. And then, honestly, my favorite JoJo is Josuke from part 4. I think he's just a really endearing character to me. But honestly, I just recommend watching it from like beginning to end, because there are things in later parts that have more weight because you know where it all started. Mm-hmm. Like seeing the initial rivalry between Dio and Jonathan in episode 1 of part 1 makes the final confrontation between Jotaro and Dio in the end of part 3 have like, it feels more impactful because you see like this is like
character growth. Yeah.
It's 5 generations dealing with the same problem, and it's all led up to here. like this is the apex. Like and honestly, the Dio versus Jotaro fight is absolutely incredible. It's probably one of the best fights of any like property I've ever seen. Like even like movies and stuff. I think honestly, I will frequently rewatch Jotaro versus Dio because it's just so awesome, and there's so much weight behind it. And then things in like part 5 give more weight because you've seen part 3.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's like I my only reference right now for as far as like how to get into something. Hold on, gotta pick up my dog real quick because he's asking to come up. But Critical Role has these huge campaigns, right? Like they have over 100 episodes for both campaign 1 and campaign 2, but each episode is like 4 hours long, so it's impossible to just like, hey, just binge watch the whole thing. Well, that would take you probably a solid 3 or 4 months nonstop. But
If I had to like, if someone only insisted they can only watch one part, part 5 is actually probably the most enjoyable of them on its own. It's very, of all of them, it's the most unrelated. It's actually just tangentially related to the other parts. The only really linking thread is that Giorno is Dio's son and Dio is dead
okay,
at the time. It's yes, Dio was dead, and then I shouldn't say at the time. And then there's a returning character from part 3 later on. But really, part 5 is so standalone compared to the rest of the series. I think it's one of the most well written parts. I think it has the best characters, at least heroes, and one of the coolest villains. But if you like, I don't want to watch 100 episodes of television. I like part 5 is 39 episodes, compared to over 100, but like 100. So I don't think it's comparatively that bad. But honestly, it's probably the most thematically enjoyable. It's got the most creative stance of all of the parts. I think the heroic characters of Giorno and Bruno and Abacchio in that series are like really interesting characters. Because like you might think like, oh, it's a bizarre adventure, it's all comedy. There's a lot of like weight behind these characters. Especially part 5, all of these characters have really they all have like really tragic backstories, but not like corny tragic. They're like, some of them are definitely like wrong place, wrong time. Some of them are made mistakes and felt like they couldn't recover from their own misdoings. So the character of Leone Abacchio, he's the like oldest of the group. He used to be a police officer, and then Naples started getting a lot of crime issues, and he caught someone doing something illegal. He's gonna like arrest them, but then like he took a bribe instead because his justification is like, this guy's just gonna get back on the streets in a week. There's nothing I can do. And then later, a week later, that guy who he took the bribe from killed his partner.
Uh-oh.
And so Abacchio took to drinking. He left the police force. And then he meets Bruno Bucciarati, best mom, and he like encourages Abacchio to become better.
So I mean, so it does sound like, I know with the ones that I've seen, there's like this attempt at redemption on them. So it sounds like that's also another thing that like the Joestars especially do, is they attempt to redeem the characters around them.
Yeah, I think part Speedwagon is like the really the first one that we see from, because Speedwagon is this street thief. He's like he lives on the really rough parts of London,
Yeah, I think it was
and then
Ogre Alley, I think.
Yeah, Ogre Street. It's referencing a Queen song called Ogre Battle, in case you wanted to know.
Okay.
So Speedwagon, by the goodness of Jonathan's heart, really, he leaves his life of crime to help Jonathan, and then he becomes pretty wealthy between part 1 and 2, and helps actually raise Jonathan's son and Jonathan's grandson.
Oh, okay, okay. So it actually, because like that's the other thing, because that was the entire setup for Dio, was
Yeah.
Jonathan's dad was doing the same thing for Dio. Granted, it didn't work out, but
Yeah. Speedwagon says that Dio was it's not just because Dio was raised in the
right,
slums.
yeah,
Dio was evil from his very first breath. There was nothing that anyone could have done to stop Dio. And I think that's a really like people can easily fall into like, oh, Jonathan's aristocrat, that means he's automatically better. It's like no, because he befriended Speedwagon, and
yeah. And
Speedwagon's very
Speedwagon
much
called it out too. That
yeah.
was exactly something that he called out in one of the episodes. Was he's like, normally I hate these guys, but you know, Jonathan is like, he's the best kind of person.
And it's also something I really love about later parts is that a lot of these characters are not they're good people, but they often have really bad circumstances. Um, Joseph's
Fine.
Joseph's a bad example. Jotaro is dressed like an old delinquent from the Japanese in the 80s. Josuke is also very delinquent-esque. He like doesn't he always has a good heart, but he's like always trying to get a quick buck or somewhere. That was actually a plot of the Harvest episodes. Giorno in part 5 was actually abused by his step parents. Um, and he joins a gang, but like these are like the righteous members of society. Part 6 is entirely like most of its characters are inmates of a prison. Like it's hard to like a lot of stories will just say, oh, these are just bad people. Like JoJo's one is like these are not bad people, they just had bad situations.
Mm-hmm.
But they've always chose what to do, what's right. And part of the themes of JoJo is that if you stick to your own personal truth of righteousness, you will eventually come out on top. It's hard, like it life sucks sometimes. Life sucks a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But as long as you stick to a path of righteousness and justice, you will eventually prevail. And cheating your way through, unless you're Joseph Joestar, cheating your way through is rarely beneficial.
Because there's nothing that he can't cheat on.
There's nothing Joseph can't cheat on. He cheated on death. He cheats in his fights. And he cheated on his wife. With a woman 40 years younger than him.
Dream Ben, right?
Hey, Joseph's in it. Also, Joseph has some weird tendency to find himself in plane crashes. Over the course of the series, Joseph is involved in 4 plane crashes.
Is it because of the thing that goes after the fly, the giant
tower?
fly?
That was only one of them.
Oh, okay.
A plane crashed, and when he first awakened his ripple abilities, and after his plane got hijacked when he was 13.
Uh-huh.
And then he purposefully crashed a plane at the end of part 2 when fighting the main villain. Then in part 3, the enemy sand user crashed a plane. And later in part 3, Joseph is flying a Cessna with the baby, with the stand that kills people in dreams. One of the characters in the backseat of the plane got a nightmare from the stand and accidentally made Joseph crash the plane into the middle of the Arabian desert.
Chat is informing me that if it flies, he'll crash it.
That is so when Joseph comes back in part 4, because he's Josuke's father, he comes on a ship. It's not stated outright, but I choose to believe it's because Joseph was too precious of cargo we can't put him on a plane.
We see there's too many coincidences. We're not risking it.
One last thing I did want to mention is JoJo references beyond memes. Well, there are memes, but like JoJo references some other ones that I wrote in the show notes. There are literally references everywhere, and that's why there's a ongoing kind of meme where you just ask, is this a JoJo's reference? The NBC show Heroes from the mid 2000s.
Uh-huh.
One of the main characters, Hiro Nakamura, made a couple JoJo references. At one, he often will say "muda muda muda" as a taunt when he uses his time powers. Because I should probably mention now, Dio stand the world can stop time. That's the whole thing, is that Dio can stop time with the world, only for a few seconds. But so Hiro Nakamura would often like "muda muda muda" when he like taunts someone. A very Dio thing. There's an episode of Pokemon XY where Meowth is in a mech suit and he says "Mudanya, Mudanya, Mudanya" and does JoJo poses.
Oh no.
So in 2013, a species of tardigrade, like those water bears, those really microscopic creatures, was discovered in, I believe it was the Yellow Sea or something. It was off the coast of Japan, like in that region. And they named it, the species name was Love Deluxe. Love Deluxe is a stand in Part 4 that controls people with hair. They so named it in the paper. We called it Love Deluxe because the hairs on this tardigrade were so long it looked like the hairs were controlling it, and that's how Love Deluxe works. You can read this paper.
Green's done.
Is it Thing from Addams Family? No, Thing is the hand. What is the thing that's all hair? There's something from Monsters. From Munsters.
No, that's cousin It.
Cousin It. Yeah.
It's not quite like that. So Yukiko Yamagishi is like a teenage girl, and she has like this flowing black hair, but she can plant it. She can take some locks out and plant it elsewhere, and it can embed in other people, and it can control them limitedly. It also, she can just manipulate the world around her just using her hair as like a third arm.
Because who doesn't want a third arm?
Green's like, I'm done.
I just
every time you try to apply logic, Green, just quit.
There is a comic. There's an X-Men comic from 1998 where the Hulk was wearing armor that looked almost exactly like the World, the World from JoJo. I should also mention, this is a funny thing. So Dio is named after Ronnie James Dio, who has his like own metal career as Dio. And he has that really famous song called Holy Diver.
Mm-hmm.
The world as a stand has oxygen tanks on its back. It's a holy diver.
Oh, Jesus.
Also, Holy Diver's a great song.
Yeah.
But it is also, some people who like are referenced in JoJo know about it. So French singer Michael Polnareff is the namesake of the character Jean-Pierre Polnareff, and he has become a JoJo fan and will often post memes about the character Polnareff on his Twitter.
That's the best kind right there.
The official Facebook page of King Crimson, the prog rock band, posted an explanation on how the stand King Crimson works. Because no one knows how King Crimson works. Also, if you want another laugh, look up on YouTube. How does King Crimson work?
Oh no.
What else? So Clint Eastwood is actually the not really. So Jotaro Kujo is supposed to be referencing Clint Eastwood in his signature pose. So Jotaro does this like pointing pose. That's actually supposed to reference Dirty Harry, a Clint Eastwood movie where he points a gun. It's the, "Oh, are you feeling lucky, punk?" That same pose. That's what Jotaro does with his finger instead of a gun. And I think I can't name the year, but relatively recently, Araki met Clint Eastwood and got Clint Eastwood to do the Jotaro pose that is referencing Clint Eastwood.
Okay.
We're gonna reach the point where everything is a JoJo's reference. Even breathing is a JoJo's reference.
But before we get to that point, let's give Green a respite. And let's the panic deer.
If you hate JoJo, I'm sorry to let you know, but hating JoJo is a JoJo's reference.
It's a JoJo's reference.
Dio hates JoJo.
So, before the all-encompassing reference becomes the reference, what shoutouts do we have? Neo, what shoutouts do you have for this session?
My only shoutout is Zawaldo.
Muda.
Oh, thank you, Wet Chinchilla. JoJo references are the final shape.
This is acceptable. Oh man, well, I just want to give a shout out to you, Neo. Thank you so much for joining us and for taking the time out of your evening and for being flexible to reschedule at the last minute. We really appreciate it.
I've been looking forward to this for the past month because the thing about JoJo Brainrot is that you have to talk about it. You have to talk about it. And I need an outlet to talk about it.
Yeah.
I tell my roommate, maybe after this podcast, I can shut up. I don't think it's happening. I'm too excited.
Here's what I'm guessing this is going to be. This is going to be like the meteorite-tipped arrows this episode. And it's going to puncture people. And they're either going to die with their brain exploding, JoJo rot that way, or they're going to get their own stand. And we're just going to start this whole thing over again.
This is the beginning. I'm excited for future episodes of Focus Fire Chat where you make JoJo references. I'm waiting for it.
Great.
If you want to do me a favor, you can just sneak in a JoJo reference somewhere, and I'll be like,
With that being said, thank you for your time, and until next time, remember, with wisdom we conquer. Stand strong, stand tall, stand proud, and keep exploring. Green.
Saturation is an understatement at the moment. That's so much. That was so much. Thank you for you did a huge amount of work on that, Neo.
Most of that was, this sounds bad, but most of that was from memory.
Yeah.
Most of what I written, it was just ooh, these things are pretty important. If I'm introducing someone to JoJo, I should probably mention this and this and this and this and this and this.
Yeah, no, that was great. That was awesome. I'm definitely at peak saturation as far as consuming that, because I need to go get high at this point and just let my brain slow down a little bit.
Then and if you ever want to do a second episode, I'm happy to talk about Fate. I'll talk about Fate all you want.
Fate the anime or Fate the...
No, Fate in JoJo's. Fate as a position.
Yeah.
Oh,
see, I have to talk about
gotcha.
Fate, and I got to talk about heaven and how they're related. And also I got to talk about Jesus. It's a part 7 thing. Jesus is a thing in part 7.
We can do an auxiliary episode, and I want to hear about those 3. Just saying, out of pure curiosity, how the fuck did they make that in there?
Because it references everything else.
It's actually everything's a JoJo's reference, including Christianity now. Yes, this is about coercing Green into a new religion.
No, I don't do the closest religion that I have, Vuru, is Buddhism. I don't do religions anymore.
I welcome you to the cult of JoJo.
The cult of JoJo.
I should mention to those who are still watching, r/shitpostcrusaders is the JoJo meme subreddit and is the largest subreddit dedicated to any single anime. And I believe it is.
You
I believe it
one.
is the 3rd largest anime-related subreddit, only being dwarfed by anime and animemes. It's bigger than the official JoJo subreddit.
Baby, that's That's a lot.
The After Dark episode idea.
What we need is an After Dark episode where Green hits bowls. Neo explains JoJo.
I gotta tell you about the role of Jesus Christ. And how it will turn America into the best country.
Excuse me, man. Can we talk to you about our Lord and Savior, JoJo?
It's the hits blunt meme. Oh my god.
Can we talk about our Lord and Savior, Jonathan Joestar?
I do not need to be high doing an episode of FSC, guys. Like, that's such a bad idea.
Such a bad idea.
Julie makes fun of me because I get hyper focused, where she just gets real spacey, and I end up like reading the item morphology mathematics book. That's how that book got on my Kindle.
If you want to get high and hyper focus on something, I can send you a link to chapter 1 of JoJo's.
Nope, I'm good.
Nope,
I'm good.
Stoned wiki dive.
No, I tend to actually not do a ton of internet browsing. I tend to either read or play video games and make very profound, stupid thoughts come out. Like this one. This one was from yesterday, guys. Here you go. Have you ever noticed how when there's clouds out and you're in a city, it's lighter outside, but if there's clouds out and you're in the country where there's no city lights, it's actually the darkest. That was a high thought yesterday.
Isn't it just the city lights reflecting off the clouds, and that just?
I love how Green's just sitting there like, yeah.
But you don't think about it.
Wet chinchilla.
So since we're open on the subject, what I like to do is I try to play the prophecy dungeon in Destiny with Ahai.
That's actually with the twisty turny, the square.
That's my favorite part of it.
It's an Escher painting. I love it.
Actually, my favorite part's the sparrow race.
Chinchilla, I just happened to be high during the JoJo episode of all things. Oh, you guys are funny.
Wet chinchilla, let me tell you about flaccid pancake.
Oh my god.
You need to let Julie know about flaccid pancake.
No, I don't.
Look, just explain it's invisible ghost zombies.
Because that will make it better. That's gonna be exotic.
One of my favorite stands is Pearl Jam, and all it does is it makes cooking better. There's a character named Tonio Trussardi in Part 4. All he is a chef. All he wants to do is make good food, and Pearl Jam literally heals you by eating his food.
Hey, that makes sense.
But why the big question though I read though is why is Pearl Jam the food healing stand and not Red Hot Chili Pepper, which is the electric bird?
I gave up on logic in this thing for a while. So I don't know. I don't know.
It's spelled A-R-A-K-I. What chinchilla? Araki. It's not Uraki. It's Araki. Hirohiko Araki.
What you spelled wet chinchilla looks like Urakai from
Lord of the Rings.
They enjoy Hobbit meat.
I saw a
looks like meat's back on the menu.
Reddit post today of a Rottweiler that had the white handprint on his head. It was amazing.
If you really want an experience, just go to reddit.com/r/shitpostcrusaders and you'll just be greeted.
There you go, Green. That's where you need to go.
That's where you need to go.
I pretty much live there in the politics subreddit, so...
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, Jay, do you have the link to the drop drive?
Oh no, not yet. I'll put it in there.
Yes, please.
My girlfriend sent me a link to the Bungie store about that kid's book, that D is for Destiny.
It's an amazing book,
It's
actually.
adorable.
Oh, I've seen pictures of it, and she just said, "Oh no," with the cute eyes.
It's amazing. Like,
Yes, it is. It is a super adorbs thing. So I tried to start recording this today.
oh yeah, how'd that go?
It's not too bad. Like the words are not as difficult as some of the books that are out there. As far as
Yes, it's a book about narcissism.
oh, very
It's just narcissism and delusions of grandeur. The book.
yeah.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I was recording the gift suggestions, and I didn't catch this the first time I read through, but all the revised gift suggestions are how to help your granddaughter who is dying.
Oh yeah.
Suggestions.
Sapphire Sunset. It is this book right here. Let's see if I can get it in there.
Yeah, it's a really good little children's book. There's actually a tiny bit of lore tied into that book too, isn't
there? Not like super much, but yeah, it's like
just a tiny bit.
Just a tiny bit, but yeah, like hang on. But yeah, like it's just like really, really cute little stuff. It's not necessarily for young kids though, because there are a few ones where it's like, I'm trying to remember which one it was, because I was reading it with Minion and when he was like really tiny when we first got it, and like there was one that was like we got to it and I was like, we're gonna skip that one because it's like talking about like, oh, the fallen eat babies, and it's like, yeah, nope, we're not gonna do that.
Why not?
Because he was like,
children have to know the threats of the fallen at an early age.
He'd be fine with it now, though, wouldn't he?
Oh yeah, no, right now, yeah, he would be fine with it. Try to find.
Oh, now I regret over the show not calling this an adventurable. I'm sorry. I missed out on the able.
I love how she immediately. I'm
not even on the Twitch page. Like I've seen him like sprinkling it in. It's a doggable. It's a barkable. It's like.
We can't call it a JoJo'able. It doesn't work. It has to be an adventurable.
Oh yeah, Sapphire. Yeah, it's
or
like
bizarreable.
Definitely, it's called an early adventure book, is what they refer to it as. And I think it's back on the store. There for a while it was sold out, but
what did you see the boots that are on the store right now?
Yes.
The new ones?
Yes. The ones that I'm not allowed to look at.
I just don't
wife.
tell my wife.
I sent my wife a picture of it. And she's like, no.
Megan, I know you're still watching. There's an idea right there. Look, if you're thinking of Christmas gifts for me, they're right there. The boots.
The other thing is, did you check out Arc 8's fashion line for Europa?
Mm-mm.
Oh man,
you're gonna make me go to the Bungie store.
I'm there now.
Well, actually, Arc 8 is. Let me see if I can find the link.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet, Jay. Did you see the coffee mug?
I think so.
Oh, I want those jackets. They're so expensive.
It's the coffee.
I need the cookbook though. That's my dream. I want the
cookbook.
I have the cookbook and it's amazing.
Yeah, I don't have the cookbook yet, and I want it.
Cookbook
it is incredibly well done.
Mm-hmm. Here you go. Green.
Julie and I are actually making the whole chicken again this weekend. Where are the boots? What happened? Oh, they're not in the store yet. They were just teasing them.
They were teasing them. Is it Palindrome? I think
they were the ones who did the original ones for.
It's the same.
Shadowkeep.
It's the same ones. Like, I was like, I swear, it's like the one thing where I wish that my feet were different than average size. But yeah, so Arc 8 is the one where they have they originally did the First Light like tech sweaters and beanies.
Mhm.
And then so they just released the I think they're referring to them as Kata jackets, but they're Europa industrial themes.
Oh,
Like it.
Viru. Instead of we could talk about JoJo's Bizarre Hikeables all day, but we should really talk about the standables in the series.
Oh my god. The thing, okay, so here's my beef with the jacket, though. I
Wait.
hate that the girls' jackets are always fucking short. Like, I'm a short person, so it fits me fine, but it's not. I don't like it. I don't like raising my arms and my belly shows.
I can't wear jackets because I would spontaneously combust.
I like that backpack, though.
Yo, the backpack's so amazing. And actually, if you look at the jacket, if you open up the jacket and then scroll through the pictures, it's the call sign on the jacket is Elsie Bray.
I saw that. This actually looks a little bit like one of my hiking backpacks, though, because it looks like my thermal backpack that we take food for our picnics out. Hmm.
Yeah, I don't think they have.
I like how they're trying to go in these like photos. They're trying to go for this like ice theme, but it's just plastic tarp.
Yeah, so they did this whole thing. Arc 8 did this whole thing where they had like this video where they were showcasing the like the different things, but they never actually showed the different things. Like they just showed this person walking around, but it was only from like the shoulders up. And I'm like, okay, if you're gonna showcase a jacket, showcase the jacket. Don't just showcase a person walking around on a mountain.
So the
We could,
packaging
if you
is
want to.
100% recycled polyester from plastic bottles.
The what?
The padding and the coats. It's partially recycled. Anyway, what were you saying, Neo?
I'll be honest, I forgot. I forgot what I was about to say.
There's a smoky translucent patch on the left chest, which is the Clovis Bray logo.
Tiger thing.
Yeah.
Which is bugging me because
I
don't know what it means.
I mean, it's very Eastern flavor. But we don't have any. And there's the Brahma and Vishnu in the first page.
Mm-hmm.
I'm putting something in chat. And it's kind of unrelated to what we've been talking about, but something in chat. It is a list of every single reference inside of JoJo's.
Oh.
Every single pop culture reference in the show / manga.
Oh wow.
It is very long.
I'm sure. I have no doubt about that. I want a poncho again, but I want the Stranger's poncho.
Mm-hmm.
I have Hawthorne's poncho, and it's nice. It's because it's a lot cooler than like the sweatshirts. But I want the Stranger's poncho. Oh my goodness. Let's see here. Oh. Sorry, my head hurts. Sorry. I haven't eaten dinner either, so that's probably part of it. Taking bets on what Telesto will break in Beyond Light. Don't know.
Everything.
Yeah.
Telesto the besto.
I had a conversation with, oh God, what was his name? I can remember his face and his hair because he had the most amazing beard of the bunch of devs that I met at Guardian Con. But he was a dev that worked specifically on Gambit, and I had asked him
Oh
what.
yeah. No, I remember this guy because I
Yeah.
think wasn't he the one that you met at the karaoke?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's actually quite
Danny?
a few devs at
Danny?
karaoke, but he was the one I actually had like a 45-minute long conversation with.
Was it Danny?
Yes, that's his
Okay.
name. But we were talking about the concept of the linking within the coding of different things like tethers, how
Yeah.
tethers just create different pings within the game. And Telesto does the same thing, which is why on console you tether a small area like the
And it
Titan
breaks everything.
and everything slows down because the coding cannot keep up.
When Destiny turns into a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, I haven't seen that happen on PC so much, which is nice, but fuck. Fuck the speed. The speed at which people can play on PC is insane. I can't keep up on a controller on the tier that I'm at. So annoying.
I finally got my Not Forgotten on Wednesday.
Nice. Congrats. I have not gotten mine yet.
I hated it. I hated every game.
Did you solo queue or did you go in with a team?
I solo queued basically up to Mythic 1 and then I had to join a group.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm stuck in Mythic 1. I was oscillating between Mythic 1 and 2 in the solo queue.
And I got my Mida Catalyst. I'm starting on that.
Nice.
I'm already 13% of the way through, and I'm not liking how the fact that Mida's not meta anymore.
Yeah. What does the Mida Catalyst even do? Like, I have the Catalyst as well, but I just haven't bothered because of Scouts being so out of fashion right now.
Let me ask that question with let me answer that question with a question. What do you think the worst perk you could give to Mida would be?
Slowing down things or, I don't know, taking away radar?
If you add a perk to Mida, what do you think the worst one would be?
Ricochet rounds?
It gives it outlaw.
Why?
Exactly. Why it already has the fastest reload of any scout by default. It's as fast as outlaw.
That
Basically.
makes. I wonder. I mean, God, I don't even know. I don't know what they were thinking with that one.
I mean, I'm already a completionist, so I'm gonna get it eventually. Like I'm gonna.
Sure.
I hunt triumph score. I'm like almost at 130,000.
Nice.
And then I'm like a collector. I have to get everything as much as I can. The only things I didn't get were all the year one trials stuff.
Uh-huh.
But like I spent, I think what was it, Wednesday night or was it Thursday night? I spent like 2 or 3 hours on Titan to get the last Titan emblem, like the like one of those random ones you get out of like loot chests.
Sure.
The very next day on Friday, not even 5 minutes in, I get it. That
Hey.
last emblem, and I'm like, now I've also I've reached season rank 420, so now I can never play Destiny 2 until Tuesday.
You could. You just couldn't do any like bounty popping or anything like that.
But I also can't do activities because that gives me experience.
That's true. You could just run around in like the EDZ.
Yeah, I do need a. I am missing an emblem from the EDZ, but
Uh-oh.
EDZ's
That
not
one's
going
not going
away, so I'm
away.
not pressured.
That is true. That is super true.
But I have literally done every single thing on every single world that is about to go away. I got all of those sleeper nodes
Mm-hmm.
from Mars. That took forever. I almost screamed when I got the last one I needed.
Nice. That is the one thing I did not finish on PlayStation. I finished it on Xbox, but when I ported over to PlayStation and cross save became a thing, I picked my Xbox because that was the most up to date Destiny 2. So I lost all that time I had spent on Xbox for it. So that I believe is the only planet I don't have everything done on.
It was a grind. I pretty much got it down to a science to get those resonant stems.
Mm-hmm.
The key is you go to Glacial Drift. You play on a class with a really good jump, or put on armor piece that gives you a better jump. So one thing you could do is like a shoulder charge Titan or a hunter with stompies. What you do is you farm the Madim Subterrane Lost Sector, and then every time you can get some sort of kills patrol in Glacial Drift, you do it. So that's there's 3 kill an enemy, pick up the thing, and then 1 kills patrol. You don't do the assassination, you don't do the go stand at a place, and then every time a public event comes up, you do that, and you can farm pretty quickly.
Interesting.
Everything gives you 1 resonant stem except for a heroic public event, which will give you 2. And then I would literally just do that for hours and farm them. And I put on podcasts. I listened to a bunch of Guardians of Lore doing that.
Nice. I haven't done a whole lot of grinding like that. I tend to grind Crucible more than anything at this point, at least in the later part of the season.
Thinking of farming Crucible back in Season of the Forge, or maybe Season of the Drifter, I did some I did some grenade launcher kill farming in order to get mountaintop. And so one of the guys in my clan asked me, it's like, "Hey Neo, why do you have such a high kill streak in Crucible? You're not, like, no offense, but you're not that great at Crucible." Like, I know I'm not that great at Crucible. I basically got carried with Legend and any of my flawless runs. And I'm like, well, you see, in Lockdown, you can farm grenade launcher kills. And I've gotten multiple we ran out of medals because you can get people to stand in one place and then hit them with Fighting Lion.
I need to actually get used to using that. I haven't. I'm just not great with normal grenade launchers.
I had a build in Season 3 during the Warmind period where I would pair Fighting Lion with Anti-Ope D on a Titan with Peacekeepers, so I can have a quick draw SMG. And I would literally tap someone with Fighting Lion, quick swap to Anti-Ope, kill them, and then that was one of my Titan builds. And I'm currently trying to work on one with the Truth Teller with blinding nades, and the grenade. It's not a grenade. It's a SMG from Dead Orbit, Escape Velocity, I think.
Yeah.
That has quick draw. I'm trying to get quick draw on that, and so I can come back to the grenade launcher SMG build. It's exciting. Try to do weird things, but in order to get Not Forgotten, I had to resort to a very scummy play style in comp.
Oh, you have to half the time.
I went to Mountaintop. I'm sorry for everybody. I went to Mountaintop and Luna's Howl to get the Luna kills. So if I didn't kill someone with the Mountaintop, I also put on Lucky Pants so I can quick swap to the Luna's Howl and finish off kills.
I do that. I have a quick draw hand cannon, and I do a bow hand cannon sometimes.
With the Le Monarch?
Of course.
And then, is it the old fashioned? Because that's the only one I think with quick draw. Unless you're using Lucky Pants.
Nope. Old fashioned. I don't need my Oath Keepers now that I'm doing Warlock, but yeah, I had
one of the one of the best clips I ever had was in season 7. I was doing comp solo, and I managed to wipe the entire enemy team using a sniper rifle, last word, and a grenade.
Oh, man. I am not good with a sniper last word combo.
I used to be relatively good in season 7. I haven't touched last word since season 7.
Yeah. It's still popular.
It sucks because I have the new ornament for it, and so it looks really good. I just haven't taken it
Oh,
to
I know.
Crucible.
The silver one?
No, the black one from this season.
Oh, I like the silver one best for me personally.
Yeah,
but
I
I'm
used to buy that one
a
lot.
fiend of silver. All right, Jay, I really need food, so I'm going to
Okay.
go.
That's fine.
Thank
I
you,
need to
Neo,
go.
again for hopping on and being a very thorough and amazing co-host.
You're welcome. If you
Yeah,
ever
you
want
did.
me back,
Yeah,
I'm literally happy to do it.
yeah, we
I
can
will
do
literally.
that.
You ask me to talk about something, I will not shut up.
Hey, that's what we do every Friday, so you are in a good crowd. But yes, have a good evening. Bye, chat. I hope you guys have a good night. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys later.
Have a good night, chat.